Now, Charles, I've been hearing a lot about stagflation lately, but I had no idea what it was. I'm sure you were just as surprised as I was to learn that it has nothing to do with deer or British bachelor parties. But you should tell us what it is. Although, what the hell is going on here? This ice cream place you've told us about is now open. I think they should have just come from Italy and dumped a pile of money in here and left it.
They probably have done that. But this used to be a Grom, G-R-O-M, which is, I think, a fake name, and an expensive ice cream place. And then we've been here several times in the last year and a half or so, and it was taken over with graffiti. And I think this is Venshi is the name of the company, V-E-N-S-H-I, and it's an old Italian, in theory, ice cream and sweet shop. And they certainly put a lot of money into this store. We'll see how well it does. I would have thought the right time to open a store like this would be in March, April, May.
Not 2018.
Of any year other than 2021. But should we go this way?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's a little overcast today, but I think it's still a nice day to walk around while the weather is not too cold.
So stagflation is when the economic activity of a country falters, slows, and at the same time you have inflation, typically in consumer prices. And that's just a very, very dangerous cocktail. That's what kicked Carter out of office very quickly after 4 years.
Peak foliage, Charles.
Peak foliage, exactly.
Well, the internet told me that it was when you have, the dumb person's explanation is basically that normally inflation is caused when you have
an overheating economy.
More people with money wanting to buy a fixed amount of goods, and that makes sense. If there's, if you want to bid on a Pez dispenser on eBay, and you're the only one bidding on it, you might get it for $1. If 1,000 people want one Pez dispenser, chances are the price goes up. But what the internet told me stagflation was when, this said specifically when unemployment goes up, so less people have jobs and less people have money, but yet there's still inflation, so it's like a stagnant economy.
It's an economy. Well, so when prices rise rapidly, the first thing that business owners think about doing is firing people.
Right.
Because that's a quick way, especially if you don't have to pay severance, of getting your costs under control. And the economic theory, and it's rich, I suppose, for me, a non-economist, to say this, the economic theory that most people work with, including the policymakers, is fundamentally flawed. It was pioneered in 1934 at a time when the size of the federal workforce and the government workforce was minuscule in relation to the total economy. And so it didn't draw the needed distinction between a public sector worker and a private sector worker. And there's a big difference in the private sector, in your business and any business I've ever been involved with. You think long and hard about hiring people because you don't want to fire them.
Right.
You don't want to train them.
Or waste money on them.
Well, you don't want to spend time and energy training them only to have them go somewhere else.
Right. Steal your customers,
and you can joke about firing people, but it's, it can destroy somebody.
Well, it's also can be difficult to do.
So in the private sector, you think long and hard about it. In the public sector, increasingly, we have the Biden-Kamala Harris phenomenon that we
just can't fire anybody.
Well, no, you put a complete certified moron into a chair, and then you say, okay, Kamala, I take you really seriously, that your top priority is to fix the border crisis.
And she's going nowhere near that.
I ain't going there. I don't even have a passport, but don't tell anybody. She probably does have a passport, I hope.
Yeah.
Might be Canadian.
There's one other interesting thing, though, about stagflation that I wanted to ask you about, because I really did look at a couple of videos to try to understand, that's my number one learning tool.
Good.
But they said that, this caused me to sort of be skeptical about it, because it said that Milton Friedman had somehow defined it or identified it or whatever. And I don't know much about him, but I don't trust him because Patrick Byrne said that Milton Friedman was his mentor, and Patrick Byrne was the chairman or something of the Milton Friedman Foundation. Well, I don't trust him at all.
Right. Well, going back to the conversation about the measurement of economic progress, When somebody says an economy is growing, what they should mean, is that when you compare gross domestic product, which is a measure of the total, air sample.
This is a little...
It's an air sample.
I know, but they just said the other day that they're going to put some poison gas in the subway to test, non-toxic gas in the subway,
Right.
And then here's this.
You can trust them, don't worry. So,
That's the fire department.
yeah.
And it's a homeland security device. Do not tamper with it.
So staying on this gross domestic product, that is in theory a measure of the annual economic output of a country. You can also use it for a city, a state, a group of cities, states, or countries. And there are, in the letter that Simon Kuznets, who was the economist who dreamed this stuff up, it was actually called gross national product. In the letter that he sent to the Senate Finance Committee in 1930, I think it was 4, he pointed out many, many flaws in the measurement system that has been used more or less ever since, with some modifications. And I would argue that one major flaw is, as I say, the distinction between the contribution to the economy of a public sector worker versus the contribution of a private sector worker. Another is that back in 34, in the depths of the Depression, there wasn't that much wealth. There was wealth, but there wasn't, that much wealth relative to the economic output of a country. In our current position, because central banks have suppressed interest rates, the stock of wealth, in theory, and I don't know if it's measured properly, is something like 7 times our annual GDP. It's like 140 trillion versus 20. And I think, that's, you can't be making economic policy if you have that kind of an imbalance between people with wealth and institutions with wealth and the economic output of your country. Another huge disconnect in this whole modeling process is that, say back in 1979, when that peanut farmer was pretending he was running the country, and I guess he's a Baptist, so he probably doesn't drink that much, but so you can't put it on to drinking. It's incredible stupidity as a president.
What a sober guy, seemingly.
Well, he gives the President of the United States, obviously not a ladies' man, right? Decides while he's president, I know what I'll do. I'll give an interview to Playboy magazine.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He did.
Donald Trump did too.
I know, but Donald Trump, it would make sense,
But didn't Playboy do some edgy journalism at certain, like David Mamet used to write for Playboy and stuff?
I know, but it's just the same people who advised Carter are probably in their walkers advising Kamala Harris to retain a production company called Sinking Ship Productions.
Right.
At this stage, to have her script an absurd,
It's another animal hospital.
I know. Well, we're living in one big one.
But I'm just saying, there's a lot of them that seem to be opening. I wonder if that.
Right.
Are there more animals, or is this a better way to order fentanyl? Definitely, that's a stupid name for a production company.
Right. So just going back to the stagflation question. Back in 1979, we were more of a manufacturing economy than we are today. And technology is certainly not advanced to the point that it has reached today, where you can do these, not just this show, but multiple shows with a comparatively modest investment relative to what it might have cost you, say, 10 years ago to try to do this.
Even 5 years ago.
Yeah. So back, though, in 79, the link between a corporation's decision to make a sensible investment, one that on paper, by experienced people, knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the capital that was going to be deployed, would dollar out as being an attractive rate of return. The link between doing that and increasing employment was pretty tight. But now, because you can, in an established industry that is, let's say, run by somebody who's 65 or older, who's not as comfortable with tech as, say, a 30 or 40-year-old might be,
right.
Typically that 30 or 40-year-old wizard can go into a company that has great market share, great position, and say, you know what, you really don't need these mainframe computers.
Right, or whatever the obsolete technology is.
And so the investment calculation, really, I would argue, starting in about 1995, 2000, has been less about putting dollars into capital equipment and increasing employment than it has been into putting dollars into capital equipment so you don't need the workforce
Right.
that you have.
And that's going to accelerate dramatically with the addition of robots.
Sure. Exactly. And so in that sort of environment, you need to think more critically about theory. And another thing, economic theory, and another one, General Jose Artigas.
He's the national hero of Uruguay and the protector de los pueblos libres.
I've actually been to Uruguay. It's a nice place. Beautiful, beautiful.
Uruguay?
Well, there's portions of it. There's just a place called Punta del Este, which has, you like waffles and things like that.
Yeah.
It has this incredible restaurant. The beach is a lot like, when I went, it was a long time ago, was a lot like East Hampton, big wide beach, white sand beach.
Uh-huh.
Huge homes near it, and then odd, back then, very fancy hotels, one of which had a special waffle room for breakfast.
Waffle room?
Yeah, and it really, I don't like waffles particularly, but the smell was so wonderful. Even I had a waffle. But
wow. I think you get in there and they shake you down for money, Charles. It's like, oh, you want to go into the waffle VIP room?
No, it's very elegant.
But just on Uruguay, real quick, I'm always fascinated, not that I've been anywhere that I can't drive to for the past 2 years, but I'm fascinated when I travel to other countries to see what country they make fun of in that country.
Right.
And so Brazil cracks on Uruguay.
Well, so Uruguay is used to be known as the Switzerland of South America. It used to be a very stable country that the wealthy would send their capital to get it out from
Montevideo or something.
Montevideo is the
really
capital.
Weird name.
Montevideo. And so all that changed. It went hard left. And now, I don't know what the current situation is, but the last time I checked, a number of years ago, the income tax system is horrible. It's not a place for foreign capital.
Well, if you want to make a Brazilian laugh, make fun of Uruguay.
Oh yeah, and also, actually, Argentinians, they hate Argentinians even more.
Charles, that girl is one of New York City's elite.
You can tell. She won that t-shirt.
T-shirt.
In a rigorous Rhodes Scholar-like competition.
So what will happen to regular people from stagflation? Seems like a very bad thing.
Just going back a little bit, another strand to think about is that in 1979, there was a certain merit in putting people in cities, right, and reading newspapers.
You didn't have the internet. You couldn't do all these jobs remotely.
Reading newspapers and magazines and subscribing for the same, and even reading books for that matter. And now you don't need to do that. Yet it's the cities that have built up these enormous costs. New York being a prime example of not only many too active, or at least on paper active, busybody Karen bureaucrats, but then there are all the retired people and the ghost workers. I'm sure there are some decent workers in the public sector here in New York, but they're way outnumbered by the schlemiels and scumbags who are basically feasting at the taxpayer trough, and saying that they absolutely deserve to make $150,000
and a pension,
a big pension, when it's not so easy to justify that level salary in most businesses. There are exceptions,
but also so many of the things that we see around the city, those people working in the park, the cops
working,
the sanitation department. I mean, they're all, building up these pensions, but yet the city is falling apart because they're not really doing anything they need to do. The other thing these videos told me about stagflation was that the oil crisis of 1970, whatever,
not 3 and 9,
started it.
Yeah.
So it seems like Joe Biden is trying to recreate conditions that will create stagflation.
Right, he's a standard playbook. I mean, this is an example. At this stage, if this were a movie, not real. Fortunately, or unfortunately, this is real life.
It's a horror movie.
Exactly. I mean, this gentleman, in quotes, Joe Biden, and his
That's no joke.
asshat vice president and team of simpleton cabinet secretaries have done in 8 to 9 months more damage, self-inflicted damage, than let's go that way. We got 27 seconds. We should make it.
These guys all want to kill right now.
Right. Exactly. This is close to where my friend got run over, actually.
It's close to where you almost got run over.
So it was a simple, I'll do it for you. To emulate you, make you feel better. I'll run myself over. But no, seriously, the number of excruciatingly bad decisions that this corrupt fuck, and that's what I think he is, Joe Biden, has perpetrated with his idiotic team of advisors on an unsuspecting and maybe a collaborating bunch of co-conspirator criminals, obviously enables the radicals in communist China and the People's Liberation Army to assume going into the winter that we're not going to protect Taiwan.
No.
Right? And so they're increasingly...
Well, they're going to assume we have no ability. And the United States was just made to look foolish in Afghanistan. What are we going to do against China and Taiwan?
And I saw one report that I haven't confirmed that alleges that a video, AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula leader has dropped a video supposedly in the wake of Afghanistan fuck up, just warning particularly people in America that the worst is yet to come for us.
Yeah,
so
they're like Lil Nas. They're dropping videos now.
Exactly. So you have that problem. You have the self-inflicted wound of demanding vaccinations in the armed forces and people saying, fuck that, I'm not doing it. And in
LAFD is going on strike and going to sue not Garcetti.
In LA? Yeah, it's Garcetti.
No, I think Newsom they're going to sue.
Oh, maybe Newsom, yeah. You know.
Oh, here's another cop on the phone texting. Perfect.
He's
How's
smoking.
the pension coming?
He's smoking.
Smoking and texting.
Yeah.
I think you get the pension faster if you do that.
Or not at all.
Should be sitting at home smoking and texting.
Yeah. Probably the 3 other people.
Look, and here comes somebody skateboarding on the sidewalk with a little baby.
Stop. That's nice of her to stop.
It's better to stop. But it's like
yeah, let's walk down this street. I don't think we've done
public
that.
service announcement. Don't ride skateboards on the sidewalk at all.
Yeah. You see this Beach Street?
Yeah.
Have you ever been here before?
I think I have.
With me, you have,
But-
but I didn't know it was called Beach Street. It's named after Hillary Clinton.
Beached Whale Street.
No.
Mark
Beach.
and Stephen Caleo.
Beach. She's
know
a
who they
beach. Speak Spanish.
Good point.
Quick, go. Sorry.
It's very rare to have just a stop sign.
It's supposed to stop, of course. You're not going to
No,
do that.
well, he's going to stop later. Stop it!
Yeah. So this is a part of New York City that most people don't see that frequently.
Nice greenhouse up there.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Can you see? Huh? Can you see? You can't even look at me.
He can't see.
Hey.
Uber, Charles.
Goober.
I do not like Uber.
Well, here's a townhouse for sale or rent. Right here. It's probably $4 million. What's the
This
address?
thing?
I don't know. 246, what's the street? West Broadway. Maybe
Actually-
somebody could tell us how much this is
Well,
asking.
but the thing that's interesting about this is you've got a retail space in the ground floor. So if you owned this, you could get rental income,
But you have to live here.
and you'd have to rent it to somebody who would have any income.
Yeah, you have to live here as well, and then you get to pay taxes, and you have all the city housing people all up your butt. You're right next to a hook and ladder, which is, I suppose, good.
There
So-
used to be, I think this is it. On North Moore Street, there used to be a club called No More.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was like an underground rock club that had some amazing parties in it. I don't know. I think this was it.
Could have been. I didn't go there. Not any time.
It looks closed.
Will be. But these are some neat old storefronts. I mean, get some, what is this? Rag and Bone.
Oh,
what's
wow.
go-
They have a stormtrooper for sale, Charles.
A what?
I know you've been looking for one of these.
Oh, yeah. So rag and bone, that's what's going to be left of the United States by the time.
Exactly. Well, actually, Star Wars reminds me that William Shatner has now become the oldest person to go to space, unless it's racist to refer to somebody as a person now.
Sexist, I think it would be.
Right.
But
He's impressive in his fitness for somebody aged 90 to be able to climb those stairs and go to space and deliver a speech the moment he steps out of the thing. I mean, I know people who were 50 who couldn't do that.
well, I'll tell you, this is name dropping, but we both met him different places, different ways. And I'll just repeat what I told you earlier, that when I met him, it was in the green room over at CNN, me to go on a Canadian show having nothing to do with CNN. And I forget what he was doing. And he was there with the wife he later divorced, who was a bitch on wheels.
Wait, was that the one who drowned?
I don't know which one. I don't know. I think maybe she drowned, but she got divorced from him. And what happened after that?
Charles, Arkansas drove here with a rapper.
That says New York.
But that's his AK.
AK is...
It's not Arkansas? Oh, AR is Arkansas. AK is Alaska.
Exactly.
Even further of a drive.
So Shatner's sitting there, and I could see that he wanted an excuse not to listen to his hectoring wife. So I looked at him and I said, I want to tell you something, and I hope you won't get mad at me. And he said, well, what's that? And he smiled, and I said, well, I honestly think you did your best acting work in Boston Legal. And he laughed, belly laughed. He said, yeah, I love, what's that guy's name? It was his Spade, is it? He's the guy.
David Spade?
Is it not David Spade? Who's the guy who's, it's another show. But it's a weird show. Oh, come to me. Something like Spade. It's not, is David Spade the comedian, or is that, no, it's not the comedian. It's a different guy. Anyway, he thought that was amusing. Took it a good.
He was nice to me. I had my office in the soundstage in Burbank, and there was a fire at the place he was doing a commercial, so he came over to our place unexpectedly. I actually was texting with my former assistant who got yelled at by Shatner.
That's funny.
Because I was telling him if the rocket had blown up, I was going to release that 3D Shatner video today. But I'm happier that William Shatner is okay. I like Captain Kirk. And I also like the idea that somebody who was such an icon in science fiction and the fictional history of man in space has now crossed over into actually going into space. But of course, Charles, there's a huge contingency of people who think that space is fake. I don't really believe that.
Yeah. There's principally AOC supporters, probably.
I don't know about that. It's supporters of, craziness.
But we don't have the light.
True.
Ah.
So what can we expect from this stagflation? It seems like it's going to continue. All these articles are talking about food prices going up 5%.
Well,
gas is going up tremendously. Somebody, I think the Post had an article yesterday that on 51st Street, there's a gas station on 11th Avenue that was over $5 a gallon for the first time now.
Well, here in the city, all I do is I keep track of my regular expenditures, and we've been talking about this for several months now, ever since the pinheads in Washington, D.C. were saying, oh, inflation is going to be transitory. I've been saying, well, it may be transitory in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, if you're rich.
Yeah, if you're not looking, if you eliminate, this is a classic Biden approach. What we did this month is we took out all of the items that went up in cost, and we look. There we go. Who's this person?
We have a full selection. Actually, Larry has that giant one.
It's Billy. Who's this?
It's got to be Biden, no?
Oh, God.
What does it say here? Electable. I guess that. Oh.
I guess it is.
Kamala.
Aren't you
going
to get in trouble for a small dog toy? With a small thing of.
I don't know.
It's kind of like.
But they've got a giant Trump. Who is that?
Bloomberg, maybe. Yeah, I'm worth it. Moneybags, Bloomberg. This is actually what Joe Biden uses at home.
Wee pad.
That's why they don't want him anywhere near the. They don't want to.
Look at this. They got Trump wearing sneakers.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. First fella. Oh wow, that's funny. So that was in anticipation of Hillary getting elected.
Yeah, that didn't
She's
happen.
not even in the lineup anymore.
Yes, she is.
Where is she?
Over here.
Bloomberg, that's strange. Oh, look, the dog looks like he's walking those toys.
So where were we just?
Well, stagflation and what it's going to do to regular people who, like, I'm sure if you're Joe Biden, milk goes from $5 to $7 or whatever.
So I was talking about the cost of different items. So I was looking. My local store is Gristedes, and it's not particularly high end. But it's expensive, and anything in Gristedes will be a lot more expensive than if you go, to a suburban
Stop and shop or
something
whatever.
like that.
Well, that's just a function of being in Manhattan, I think.
But everything, Jason, I mean, it's just like, I've seen stuff go up, certain things go up in price over the course of a year of 100%.
Like what?
Like different packaged food items, different, it's actually the off-brand stuff that they jack the prices up.
It's weird.
Yeah, well, it's just they've looked at it and they said, why is this so cheap? We'll just experiment and make the difference between the branded product and the off,
Right.
And see how far we push it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, in food it's gone up. Restaurant prices,
Oh,
to the extent they're open, are absurd. And then I haven't really checked on. The 99% pizza store is now $1.25. It used to be
For the
50
same-
cents.
But it's usually just regular pizza is 99 cents, and if you add anything to it,
Oh no, they're way past that. It's not. It's now $1.25 for regular, and one topping is $2.50 or something.
wow. So
Yeah.
did they change the sign to say?
No, of course not.
Well, that would cost another 50 cents.
Yeah, they call up Dunkin' Donuts and say, can you tell us the people you used and paid a lot of money to change your name, but you haven't decided to change
Exactly.
your thought? Yeah. So you can tell from this that New York is definitely back. Good.
Well, oops, I just hit the wrong button and we went silent for a second. But the telephone sales and service company is not doing so well. Oh, wait a minute, that's Sushi of Gari and it's closed. That's a fancy sushi place.
That was a fancy sushi place.
Wow. Have you ever been to that?
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty high-end, expensive place, and
I
they
think
actually
again,
only
tense.
fairly recently expanded to other locations. It was like the upper
Watch yourself.
east side or west side or something.
Here you have a nice pile of garbage. Always a good thing to put outside a balloon saloon. A whole bunch of garbage.
How can a store like this stay in business?
Oh, it's quality products.
But nobody needs balloons, really.
Joe Biden does. Get him out of his. Can I have a balloon?
Yeah.
Joey wants a balloon.
Ice cream, balloon animals.
So the bottom line, though, on stagflation, stagflation is something that only gets cured in the end if it can be, assuming there isn't a catastrophic run on the
Yeah,
dollar.
most of the examples they gave were just terminating the currency and starting over, which sounded bad.
Right, it's not good. So, I mean, gold, I'm happy about what happened today in gold, and it's going to continue
What
going up. Well, up 3 or 4%. So far, by
But doesn't that
215.
also equal the dollar going down?
Yeah. Yep. So
So everything gets more expensive.
things get more expensive, and we've been postponing, really since December 2008, we've been postponing the inevitable day of reckoning. Instead of back in 2008, 9, 10, getting interest rates back to where a small saver can put $100 or $1,000 into an account and get a rate of return greater than inflation, so that it makes sense for you to deposits are insured, so in theory you're fine. Instead of that scenario, what we've been doing since December, roughly 31st, 2008, to make Obama and others look good, it's thriving.
Serafina, empty.
Well, don't you see all the people?
These are all the Joe Biden voters.
Yeah, they're all waiting for his press conference.
Right. I mean, did that even happen yet?
I don't know. I tweeted out that I had finished watching it right around 1:46, and I tweeted out this. I don't know if you remember the Geico commercial that Pinocchio is a really bad morale salesman or morale boosting person. That's a funny commercial.
The Geico commercials are good.
Yeah, so I tweeted that out, and this to go. I remember not that much from business school, but I remember one of the things from business school, it always sounded good when the first older person said it about a case problem. You know, you're the CEO of General Electric and you've got this monumental set of problems. What are you going to do? And the person, well, I'll set up a task force and I'll hire consultants.
Right.
You know, it's like,
Offload it to somebody else.
right, and then I'll take credit if it works and blame the consultants if it didn't.
Right.
You know, and meanwhile, give me another $10 million bonus. So, Jen Psaki, who really, I think the actor playing Pinocchio was a better morale booster than Jen Psaki.
a puppet.
Yeah, far better than Jen Psaki. Getting up there and thinking that you can diffuse obvious supply chain problems. I mean, it should have been obvious. It has been obvious to me for decades that it does not make sense to manufacture essential internal ingredients for anything outside this country if your primary market is this country. It
Right.
just doesn't make sense. It introduces a layer of complexity in management.
Gives somebody else control of something that we need.
Right, and it just makes everything more complicated. You got to have middle and senior managers flying around the world checking on things and meeting. When you could just do it in one place or multiple locations inside this country where there's one set of laws, and one currency, you're a lot better off. So for 30 plus years, almost 40 years, we have been rushed into this absurd McKinsey blessed, Booz Allen blessed, BCG blessed process of having the essential active ingredients for all pharmaceuticals manufactured in India and China. Certain essential fuels outside this country, other rare earth metals, other things not under our control. And it's really been gross recklessness, not even negligence, it's recklessness on the part of the academic elites, the policy elites.
I think it's
and the
sabotage.
uniparty, yeah. And yeah, we're just sitting here and letting Psaki lie what remains of her ass off every day.
She's just terrible. I mean, she's one of the worst people that I see on television on a regular basis. I become angry when she's given these stupid, condescending press conferences. I do also, on a separate note, want to remind people they can watch us on rumble.com/user/CS the truth. And also, people can become sponsors of the show. Charles, we've been refraining from doing First Amendment forum shows for a little while because we've been deferring to the walk around while the weather remains nice, and to make sure as many people as possible can see all the garbage. We've been just keeping it as a closing in here. We got another store closing. Not closing in, but closing. And so, people can continue to support Crowdsource the Truth on subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth and patreon.com/crowdsource.
Very good.
No inflation here, Charles. It's same low monthly good value.
That's great. A lot of good stuff. Unlike on television now, it's become this almost every show in prime time on the networks.
Little dog stare down there.
There's a mixture of America's Got Talent, The Voice, Dancing with the Stars, all these contestant shows where people give away their labor for free in the vain hope that they're going to eventually be selected for some prize.
I'm sure they're given some kind of compensation. Probably stay in a hotel or something.
Well, but relative to the value gleaned from, that somebody does a good performance and they put out a single.
But look at Edward Hung. He got a whole album out of it.
Shebang, that guy?
Yeah, I wonder what that guy's doing now.
Living large. He's probably hanging around with Hunter.
Maybe. Oh yeah, something else now came out about Hunter Biden, didn't it? He had a gallery sale at that place last week.
In Los Angeles? Or
No, here in New York. But
Really?
he was meeting with the buyers. I thought they had decided it was going to be confidential. They seem to change their mind, however it suits them.
Once I establish that somebody is an inveterate liar, I stop listening to them.
Yeah.
There's no point. I mean, if you know the person's going to lie, it's Charlie Brown in the football.
Right, exactly.
So we're headed to Wall Street to check it out and see if anybody's working there. walked by a few of the bars, probably frying in the bar.
What do you think about how they're going to resolve this stagflation?
Well, inevitably, U.S. dollar interest rates have to go up. You can't have 5.6% inflation and 1.6% 10-year interest rate fixed. It just doesn't work. And the way, in my experience, and I'm not a bond vigilante, the smartest investors are bond investors, because the math is a little
James Bond.
No, bonds, debt. They are.
James Bond investors are getting clobbered on that last
No.
movie.
But when I spotted GE's problems, the convincing clue to me was the divergence between what I saw in the financial statements, what I saw in the equity research analysts who were all promoting GE stock, and the screaming red flags that I saw in the bond market. And I weighed those up and I said, if the bond market people are telling you there's a problem, there's a serious problem.
Well, so bonds, I'm sorry to be so stupid, Charles, but I figure if I don't know anything about this, there's going to be other people who know anything about this. So a bond is basically the government sort of says like, hey, loan us some money or something.
Any borrower, let's go this way. Any borrower who wants to take your money and will then give you the money that you gave them back after a fixed period, typically 10 to 30 years in the most active tranches of the international market, and pay you interest along the way. So the finance theory is, which again may soon be discredited, is that the U.S. Treasury bond market is so large because there's so much debt outstanding and so liquid that that is the best measurement of a baseline for risk. So you don't have to do a hell of a lot of analysis normally. Now I think you do, but normally you don't. To say, well, if I'm an insurance company and I need to make sure I have money around to pay claims and I don't want to take risks on the equity market, why don't I put $1 billion this week into 10-year U.S. Treasuries or 30-year U.S. Treasuries? And that's what's called the, quote, risk-free rate. There's no such thing as a risk-free rate.
Right,
But
and when you say something is about to be disproven, that's interesting to me because, again, like, you know, all this stuff is spoken about as if it's science, but in fact,
Right.
it's actually just some guesswork somebody came up with at some point, and they could just be like, oh yeah, that was wrong.
Well, it's speculation, and that's why, funny, I was in a shop yesterday, and a nice owner of the shop was saying, well, aren't you concerned about global warming? And I don't want to get to too much trouble, but I said, fuck no. And
I'm feeling a little chilly anyway.
well, no, I said to him, you know, the simplest way to think about the model, quotes, that was used to suggest there's a global warming problem is based on the last second we spent together. Why don't you model out the end of your life based on the 1 second experience you've had with
Right.
me?
It's going to be very inaccurate.
Right. That's basically, the Earth has been around for a while. I mean, even if you're an Orthodox Jew and you say it's only been around for, what is it, 7?
Well, I don't know. I think the religion has been around for almost 6,000 years, but I don't know if
There's some, I don't know if
Say
it's Jewish or Christian. There's some
don't
people,
believe in dinosaurs.
they believe that the Earth was formed 7,000 years ago. Even if you say that's right, which it's not, but say that's right, you don't take a model for a portion of the Earth's surface over, let's say, even 30 years and say, based on that experience, or even 200 years, that's relevant.
Yeah, too small a sample.
And you've got to be able to model not simply the Earth, because unless you want to say the universe is a joke and all, you know,
It's
go
just
back
all
to
us.
pre-Galileo and say that the universe revolves around Earth.
Yeah.
You've got to understand there's something out there called the sun, and the sun is shining down on most parts of the Earth for a portion of each day, and it heats and it cools.
Wow.
And to my knowledge, no human being has ever been able to get inside the sun yet because it's freaking hot on the sun.
Well, they're going to go at night.
Exactly. Maxine Waters will go at night.
Oh, well, her Twitter account got deleted. I saw she tweeted.
Well, and Osama bin Dorsey's people came back and said, no, it didn't.
Well, of course it didn't. She's using Twitter to tell. She's like, she should have tweeted, oh my God, I lost my crack pipe.
Call Hunter.
Check behind the couch.
Check Hunter. He's probably got a few spare ones. So,
Dumb lady.
yeah.
And Charles, why isn't Congress made up of the best and brightest among us? I mean, if you were going to have somebody represent you, you don't want to pick the stupidest person. We're getting a lot of radio interference.
Yeah, let's make a left here.
Potentially from this police
We'll make a left.
activity or whatever these guys are doing.
And there's that mosque. Or is that
Well,
a mosque?
no, it's not a mosque.
It's an Orthodox church?
Yeah. I thought it was a mosque, but then we saw it was the St. John's something.
Uh-huh. Probably a church. You want to swing by O'Hara's and get a beer? I don't understand people who drink during the day. I just don't get it. But
Well, yeah.
I mean, and I'm not really working,
No, I don't.
so
I don't
mean,
want to.
But
It's a
anyway,
good way to pass out by 7 o'clock.
yeah. So how do we get to the question of global warming?
Because the guy who you were at the store asking said,
Yeah.
"Are you worried about it?"
Yeah. And so it's. But before that, there was something else that we were.
Well, just checking the Earth for 200 years.
Well, I suppose we should address this whole issue of does it make sense at this moment in time to stump up $93 trillion for yet another vague
No.
plan that at the end of the day we'll discover there's no basis to support the argument that you should spend $93 trillion for anything. But God.
Well, it's another one of these situations where they've arrived at a foregone conclusion.
Right.
And if you question the conclusion,
You're a racist.
you're obviously an idiot.
Yeah, and a racist.
Because that's the conclusion. You can't question the conclusion. You know, like I saw a tweet from de Blasio where he's doing his press conferences. I guess maybe he wants to win an Emmy now that Cuomo's been sidelined. But he's insistent every day. He's tweeting, mandates work.
Sorry.
I don't remember if I said this to you or if I said it on the show, but I mean, yes, mandates work. I mean, threatening someone with violence works. It's just not the way we govern the country.
I think maybe we do a new show called Stuck on Stupid. We have
featuring Bill de Blasio.
Well, we have a competition among the audience. Can you give us an example of the stupidest fucking things that somebody has said in the most recent week? And then we decide which is stupidest.
It's not enough time in the day to make that show. Now, this is an insurance company, isn't it?
It is.
Aon.
Exactly. Now, there used to be in that building, or this building, one of the two, there used to be a Brooks Brothers in here, but I think Brooks Brothers is gonzo.
Hey, look, they have some sort of construction going on at Brown Brothers Harriman.
Yeah, that was a very distinguished old line firm. And I don't know if that's connected to the Browns of Brown University. If
The
so,
Harriman is connected to George Bush.
Harriman, absolutely. Harriman is, well, there's Averill Harriman, but I forget who the original Harriman was, who was a mega. We don't have the light. We do have the light.
No, let's wait. Well, here we are, Charles, back to your stomping grounds. I've noticed there's just a huge amount of police equipment on almost all of these things nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is so decayed compared to...
It's funny, Liberty Street, and then every single thing they could possibly use to detect whatever you're doing.
That's right.
I'm sure they can listen to your phone with that stuff.
We call it lack of Liberty Street.
Right. Should say dead end on there. Well, no one's driving, Charles.
Well, I know what I was going to say. We were...
These are police vehicles. The police have a Cadillac Escalade.
They deserve them.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
There's I just did our friend Katya asked me some questions about this whole Jonathan Turley article about Durham and Sullivan and all.
Oh, yeah, that was a very good article.
Yeah.
I like Jonathan Turley.
I do too. Now, just so our readers understand, Jonathan Turley is a left-leaning law professor who gets amazing chops in my book because he speaks his mind. He looks into a situation, into an issue, and if his conclusion cuts against the progressives and the Democrats, so be it. If it cuts against conservatives, so be it. And I've now watched him for many years, and I see him do that. So he's reached the conclusion that fake Sullivan is in serious trouble. And as people will see when the article comes out, whenever it does come
Oh, I
out.
think I saw it. It's out.
My article?
Oh, your article. I thought you meant this one.
No, that one's out for sure. But my article on that article, in an interview with Katrina Blanova, I point out that the real people who need to be worried here are not merely Hillary. It's John Podesta, the campaign chairman in 15 and 16. It's Joe Biden, who was in the room when all these decisions were made to go after Trump after he legitimately won. It's, of course, Hillary Clinton, and of course, Bill Clinton, and of course, Barack Obama. It's a whole bunch of people here have a lot to worry about. And what I discovered, and this is really something, I thought I'd seen that Jake Sullivan went to Yale Law School. And he in his summary up top in the Wikipedia, it doesn't say that. But when you read it, this guy must be either able to game the system or just an outstanding student, because he went to Yale from Vermont. Go across, whatever.
Do you want some halal
I had
This guy's going wild over there.
He's having a good time.
And
Probably not from Lebanon, where there's no electricity right now.
This guy looks very qualified as a medical professional.
I'm
doesn't
telling you.
He could be a cop, actually. He's just sitting here
whatever.
texting.
Whatever. A painless saliva test. Yeah, painless for who?
Just spits on you. How do you feel? Did that hurt?
You've got COVID.
Right, exactly. Now you're positive.
I'm positive, you're positive.
That
So,
thing says Huguenot.
where?
Boss is going to Huguenot?
There is a Huguenot, I forget where it is. Huguenot is a French Anglican.
Boy, you've got a lot of people in a really rough way out here, Charles.
This
On
is-
Wall Street.
Can I help you guys? Anybody else? Have a good day, guys.
I like that approach. Can I help you? No, you can't help yourself, son.
There have been so many videos that have been posted. Some woman was just randomly attacked at 3 o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon in Brooklyn yesterday.
Right.
Head smashed into
Right.
some planter on the street. And then people are getting so vicious because this woman was knocked out on the street. And after they took her stuff, they went and stomped on her head like 5 times.
It's outrageous. But just let me finish
Sure.
on Sullivan, if it's okay. So Sullivan went to Yale College, and he won a Truman Scholarship in his junior year, which is a big deal, a national thing, kind of like a Rhodes Scholarship, but it's very hard to get that. He got one of the prizes for the highest grade point average and summa cum laude graduate.
Why does he seem so stupid?
Let me keep going. He also won a Rhodes Scholarship and a Marshall Scholarship. Then he went to Oxford, and he was chairman of this and chairman of that at Oxford, and then he went to Yale Law School. Along the way, he worked for Strobe Talbot. He worked for, in the project on globalization, not what could go wrong there, and he married a woman who had worked for who?
I forgot, you told me.
Merrick Garland.
Right.
And she's obviously smart as well, because academically smart, because she was a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Breyer, which is not easy to do. So you have these two people. Jake, if you go in to the Podesta WikiLeaks and the State Department WikiLeaks, and you just put Sullivan's name in, you see that he was at the center of the email obfuscation process and lying his ass off to everybody. He was in the Hillary Clinton State Department. You can't say that a guy with all those academic qualifications, as a lawyer, did not understand that the Clinton Foundation was a fraud and that it made no sense for the State Department and the U.S. government to funnel all this money in to projects that help Clinton Foundation donors. And he was sitting there basically at the knees, hopefully not under the skirt of Hillary Clinton, but he's constantly with her all the time. And he had to.
Okay, let's see. I think it should be back now. That's unfortunate. We got cut off while you were over there standing by the George Washington, I think, Charles.
Well, he was praying, I guess.
Yeah, we might have missed that little... Okay, we're back.
Yeah, so
let's just show everybody that sculpture
Sure.
a second, because that was impressive, and I don't know
So
if
we can
people
get
got
cut
to
off
see it.
again?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have to worry about that later. If it's... Yeah, anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying, we were talking about the Daughters of the American Revolution, and I was about to tell you that you're standing next to somebody who is descended both from provable patriots and provable loyalists, which is not that common.
Camera's not on you. Got a bunch of
Idiots.
hanging out, smoking weed, skateboarding on the sidewalk.
On a school day.
They're too stupid for school.
That's right. Your report card came, and it's basically, never mind.
Yeah.
You don't have to show up. There's no hope for you.
They took an aptitude test, and they determined you are best suited to sitting in front of the Trump Plaza smoking weed and skateboarding.
Well, actually, I've heard of this, and multiple people I know.
She looks smart.
Stay focused. Multiple people I know have children who were hopeless in school
Right.
until they got brainwave. It's okay. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Until they got the brainwave of saying, why don't we see if this person can cook?
Right.
And for some strange reason, many people who are ADD and not good in school are phenomenal chefs.
Because it takes a lot of simultaneous thought processes and constant, rapid,
Right.
like that pressure some people thrive on.
Yeah. So I
You
found
can
that
organize thinking in a small way like that.
Yeah. So that's something useful to know.
Bong store on the street.
Yeah. This is where this is the famous empty lot. It's now a building, obviously. When I showed up for my first day of work, June 9th, 1980, this was a vacant lot. All the way, from the modern building, all the way down there, and there were weeds growing out of the asphalt.
Legal weeds.
Like weeds just as in plants. And then there were probably 15 or 20 drug dealers. And I sat, if you can see through there, which they may not be able to do, there was a deli, which was then called Oliver Eatwell's. And I got here, I was supposed to be at 9, my usual trick, let's not go in there.
No, just...
But I got here at, say, 8:15, and it was really hot, so I had a big thing of iced tea, and I was thinking, beginning my career as an investment banker, what's the environment like? And I see all these older men
doing coke and...
Well, buying drugs. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, wait a minute. Is that when they say a creative banker, is that what they mean? It's a rude awakening. This literally, in 1980, it was past its prime, but only by maybe 5 years or so. The big things that sent Wall Street out of here, one was there were fixed high commissions, and that created an old boys club where if you own a brokerage firm, you could make a lot of money. But when they eliminated that and they let in discount commissions and eliminated the requirement that you had to settle trades physically down here, you didn't need to be here anymore. So people said, let's get the fuck out of the sewer and go to Midtown, or even leave New York City.
See, this is another interesting point. Like, I've spoken quite a lot about how technology has impacted Hollywood and all that, but it also obviously impacts finance, every industry, and we're seeing it now, like you were saying before, where people can do a lot of these jobs remotely. I mean, that's all enabled by technology, and look at the impact it's going to have on society. You know who else was very interested in settling trades?
Who? Epstein?
Patrick Byrne. That was his
Right.
whole blockchain thing. So he's coming up again in our conversation.
Exactly.
So I'm sure if you knew a lot about Wall Street and technology, like there's certain people who have knowledge that crosses over into certain areas that allows them to come up with ideas that other people wouldn't even understand if you explained it to them.
Right.
And I think in part, Charles, that's why people that want to do crimes and are trying to bend the law and create laws that allow them to do those crimes, they don't like the crowdsource investigative journalism model because it actually allows those disparate pools of knowledge to come together in ways that are very effective at figuring out what's going on with any particular complicated problem.
Well, and if you think about the way most established news organizations work, Most of them, very few of them are independent. Most of them, go this way.
Owned by some billionaire corporate thing.
Right, and they all have this standard approach. They typically have an editorial meeting every working day in the morning, and they coordinate, decide which stories are going to move and which aren't going to move, and they coordinate across their various platforms who's going to follow the different stories. And there's typically an editor-in-chief or a managing editor or something like that, and they all know one another. And it's the people who are influential today, it's a small number of people. It's not thousands of people anymore, or tens of thousands of people. And the simplest way, it's happened to me a few times, you get a complex problem. To make a complex problem simple takes time, and you got to look at it. If normal human being, it just takes time looking at it from different directions and figuring out the fresh way of thinking about the elements of the problem and how big the contours of the problem actually may be. And so that's an exercise which a retired person like me can do as long as I want.
Right.
But if you're
average person can't really do that.
But if you're a Katya at Sputnik, she's told you got to pump out a certain number of stories per day.
Right.
And you can't just take 5 years of your life and start thinking about something. So that's why I think Crowdsource the Truth is such an important thing. And you're right, it is a threat. And while we're on that subject, I'm going to introduce a new element of threat. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you are both a sorry-ass bunch of fucking liars. And your undoing is near. Because, unfortunately for you, there are a large amount of records that are in the public domain that I have found, and others have found, but beyond what you know already. And I want to talk a little bit about one narrow thing, which you can't take down because I've already copied it. There's something called the Butler Center.
Hang on a second, let's get past this loud
Sure.
truck, because this is important. People want to hear it. It smells like gas coming out of there. Oh, that's dangerous. What the hell is that thing doing?
About to blow us up.
Yeah, I know.
There's something called the Butler. There's another dumpster. Great, down here in financial capital of the world. Put dumpsters everywhere.
Now, so wait a minute. So the Butler, what
So
is
the
this
Butler
thing?
Center for Arkansas History has a whole bunch of stuff in it. And unfortunately for the Clintons, a large number of people have contributed their papers to this center. And it's not just there are many other. And remember how I've been saying that it's really odd to me when you look through the 990, the 1023, there's nothing specific about the cost of putting up the Clinton Center, Clinton School. There's no operating agreement. There's no explanation of how the Clinton Center came together, what's it supposed to be, what's its actual relationship with, in theory, the Clinton Foundation. Unfortunately for the Clintons, there is a large amount of information at the Butler Center and elsewhere
About all that?
and it shows that the fundamental issue.
This is like a dog shit minefield here, Charles.
I know. Yeah. So the fundamental issue when the IRS and the Department of Justice examines whether a foundation is an independent entity is whether a person who's named as an officer, director, or trustee, or worse, a person who's not named as an officer, director, or trustee, can just direct the foundation to do whatever that person wants them to do, and particularly if it benefits that person. That's exactly what Bill and Hillary did. They instead of having truly independent people serve as trustees and executives, they picked Democratic Clintonista loyalists to go into the slots to pretend they were running things, and then Hillary and Bill have been running this thing since before it was incorporated on October 23, 1997. So, to give you a case in point, there's a summary by poorly named name choices. I mean, you can make fun of Ortel if you want, but the name choices of people who appear around this project are hilarious. From the BKD accountant Ernie Skirmy to the president of the University of Arkansas, Dr. Alan Suggs, which I think is pronounced sucks, but I'm just making that up. Anyway, he does this recollection where he's all excited and he says, the idea for the Clinton Center, Clinton School of Public Service, began in early February 1997. On February 12th, 1997, Bill Clinton called me, he says, and suggested,
Sudsy guy? Who is this?
the president of the University of Arkansas, and suggested that the Clinton Foundation Presidential Library should be located on the University of Arkansas campus.
Oh, should we go to the South Street
Sure.
Seaport for a minute?
The University of Arkansas campus, and we started work on that shortly after February 12, 1997. There was no Clinton Foundation entity until October 23, 1997. So all of that work was not done at the behest of the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation. Yet here's Bill Clinton holding himself out. I selected the site. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He had no authority to do any of that. All of that work disqualifies the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation from being a 509A1, 170B1A6. You're going the wrong way.
And too fast and through the light. Crazy. But Charles, this sounds exactly like what Joe Biden did. There's a lot of news coming out now that his press conference, where he spoke about this vaccine mandate,
It's all wrong.
didn't actually issue any kind of executive order. He just gave a press conference and said, do it.
Yeah. L'état,
So
c'est
it's
moi.
not-
The state, I am the state.
Right.
That's just not, those are not our values.
Well, but it's the same exact thing that you're saying Bill Clinton did. These guys just do whatever the hell they want, and they say it, and everyone's like, well, he's the president, so that must be the thing.
Well, and then it turns out that and there are multiple accounts of this. So Diane Blair, who's dead, who was, I guess, a nice, smart
Isn't that
lady.
new?
I don't come down here that frequently, maybe. Looks nice.
It's just a bar in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I like outdoor bars.
But this is
Not-
like we're at an airport or something.
Yeah, not in the slum, but yeah, we could walk over to the water there. I've been to the. This used to be notoriously corrupt. I mean, this was so corrupt.
When Giuliani became mayor, he
Right.
said that the Fulton Fish Market is controlled by the mafia, and then that night it burnt down.
Never mind. Records? What records?
Well, that was just a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in addition, so Diane Blair was this political science professor, and in multiple books, in Bill's books, Hillary's books, and other books, it does say that when Bill moved and Hillary to Fayetteville, Arkansas, to teach, in quotes, law at the University of Arkansas. I like independent bookstores. This is all about Biden.
Cloud Cuckoo Land. I've never seen this bookstore before.
I like the idea. Oh, but I don't know this one, but
McNally, Jackson.
I like these type of independent
This
bookstores.
looks like a new place that is designed to look old. Gotta wear a mask. The CDC recommends wearing masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status. We do too.
Where shall I smoke? Anyway, so in addition, so Diane Blair, let me just, if I can drive this point home.
Yeah.
She was asked by Bill Clinton, according to him and according to other accounts, to come up with a model for the Clinton School of Public Service. And the idea was that the Clinton School of Public Service was supposed to be operated in conjunction with the Presidential Library and would be led by Bill and Hillary Clinton after Bill left in January of 2001. They had this written down that the Clinton School of Public Service would grant degrees, and we would study the great works of Bill Clinton and his model with Hillary Clinton.
So it's a 2-day course.
And then it would have as well a Clinton Center. The idea that would also be in Little Rock, and that would be the principal vehicle for Hillary and Bill to continue to address their policy challenges that they think were important. This is not in the application for tax exemption submitted 22 days later. And there is an 11-page presentation that goes through all the results that Diane Blair in 1997, after she was asked in February to do this, she and a team traveled all over the U.S., going to other presidential libraries, other schools. Who paid for all that? None of this shit is in the 1023. All of it should have been in. And the notion that this entity would be controlled forever by a family is antithetical to the idea of being a public charity. And here we have Bill and Hillary are supposed to be these genius lawyers. They're genius criminals. They're not genius
Right.
lawyers.
Well, I think
And-
that you're talking about
That way?
Shades of meaning there.
What's
What's
this
that?
one? Up this way?
Sure, yeah. I just think it's cool to look at the tall
Is that your
ships
ship?
here. It's not mine.
Yeah.
These guys all have a pin on them like there's some sort of security
Probably.
for
Well, I'm
us.
sure. Let's hope they are security.
Nice car over there, Charles.
That's your car.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's actually your car.
Same
somebody
color.
stole it and put it New Jersey license plate on it.
Re-registered it in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But we haven't really been down here too much, and actually I haven't been down here in a long time. That thing looks totally redone.
Yeah, when we were down here last, we couldn't walk up there. It was
I
also
think they
cold.
must have been reconstructing it.
Yeah. So we have different, I mean, this is 21st century. That's pretty nice, actually.
I used to really enjoy coming down here, although that was more before I lived in the city. I haven't really spent that much time down here in a long, long time, but...
So just returning, and I'll finish on this
Yes.
point, that the presence of these admissions in multiple archives and the index to these archives that also includes, I think I may have mentioned this before, but again at the Butler Center, if you look up enter Kenneth Starr materials, there's a gigantic trove of information at that center concerning the actual pleadings and counter pleadings, whatever you call them, and the decisions. They're all there in this crucial
docket.
period. Well, many of them were sealed. They're all there now exposed to the public, and they help you refill the timeline from May 27th, 1997, when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that Bill had to stop this bullshit of delaying discovery in the Paula Jones v. Clinton case. She had to have discovery. The second that happened, David Kendall's team and others whipped up spurious claim after spurious claim, trying to slow the process down, but ultimately failed to do so.
The discovery process.
They failed to do so. And the classic Clinton approach is to say, we've cooperated fully by getting a pit bull to make your life miserable,
Well,
and then
that's just standard stuff, though.
hiding the crucial evidence that would put them away. And then once the settlement is reached, say, that's old news when the crucial
Right.
evidence comes out.
Yeah.
And that's just such a horrible message to send to anybody. I mean, if you're truly progressive and you've got such wisdom that you're going to make the world a better place by your grand schemes, oh, look at that. Those policemen jet skis, or are those?
I don't know. I wanted people to see the Brooklyn Bridge, though.
Well,
I don't
look,
think the police have jet skis.
I got a great way to finance Crowdsource the Truth.
What's that?
We can sell it.
That's right.
Could sell it to Joe Biden. He's dumb enough to buy it.
I don't think the police use jet skis.
I can't see them. I guess those are, well, I'm sure they do.
It's just a blue jet ski. I don't know, maybe people
There's
can see
one,
if it
is
says-
there somebody on that jet ski? I don't,
There's one jet ski that has not got anybody on it.
that's
and then
never
there's
good.
3 other jet skis sort of talking, but I don't see anybody swimming.
Well, I think there are 2 people on, at
There might
least.
be 2 people on the one on the right. Maybe somebody's injured. I don't know. Well,
There's 2 people on the center one as well.
but there's the Brooklyn Bridge for people to observe. So, Charles, when will we get a chance to see all this stuff from Kenneth Starr and everything?
You can see it. Go online, Google Butler Center, and
Wow.
and Google search, and you'll see in the search portal for the collections, and just punch in Clinton Center, punch in Kenneth Starr materials. You'll see it for yourselves. Now, one of our most loyal viewers wanted me to talk more about David Edwards.
Okay.
And
Edwin David Edwards.
David Edwards, and they're,
Ed Edwards.
unfortunately for the Clintons, I like books, and I have most of the books that have been written on the subject of the Clintons and related subjects. And when you put them all together, my headline view of what actually happened is that Bill and Hillary didn't necessarily think they were going to win. And
When?
so in 1992, because you had P-Rod, they didn't know how much of a force P-Rod was going to be.
Were they really worried about Ross Perot?
No. The big question for Bill is the more that P-Rod gets, the more that eats away at
Right.
H.W. Bush. So they just had no idea, no one did,
What was going to happen?
what was going to happen. And I don't think they attempted to clean up their messes before the election. So they may have figured, you know, we're not going to win. We have more time. We can bury this. And so the second they won, it was like, holy shit town. And you read Webster Hubbell has a book talking about what happened. Jeff Gerth has a book talking about what happened. Many players talk about what happened to the various files that had been kept, the so-called secret files. Webb Hubbell had custody and control of some. Vince Foster had some. In '91, Diane Blair was part of a team, the so-called defense team, that put together a list of all the vulnerabilities that the Clintons had, grouping them under Bill's vulnerabilities, Hillary's vulnerabilities.
Wow.
I mean, it was a list of like 70 plus topics.
Oh my God.
And so they then tried to vacuum up and figure out how to blunt criticism over all these different topics. One of the topics that had to be an issue was the fact that by custom, even though Trump said, F you, I'm not doing it, by custom until
taxes.
Trump, you had to give your tax return while you were president, while you were in the White House. You had to, it was customary to provide the tax return. So they knew back then that they had to do that. And Vince Foster, being, by all accounts, a clever and honorable man, though he may have been having an affair with Hillary for all we know.
Does that fall under not clever
Insanity.
or not honorable?
They call it under insanity. Glutton for punishment. Foster knew that you had to file that tax return by April 15th, 1993, and that in order to do that, if you were going to distance yourself from Whitewater, you had to find a way to sell out of Whitewater. So the way they did it, according to multiple accounts, is that Diane Blair's second husband, Jim Blair, who was also a confidant of the Clintons, wrote a check for $1,000.
To buy out their Whitewater?
Well, yeah, I forget how they did it
I
exactly.
mean, isn't that like a token? That's not
but,
what
but,
it was.
but
Careful. But that's
You
not
don't
the
care,
true
do you?
value, is it?
stupid asshole. You want to go one in so we're not
Sure.
some noise. So
That dude was wearing a tallis. He was a rabbi or
I
something.
know, but he was just going against the lights. Fuck
Yeah.
you. I don't care. We'll go make a right up here. But they, the issue with the Whitewater partnership was not simply the tax being bought out. It was that the records were shambles.
Right, the whole thing was a
Right.
criminal operation.
Right, and so once Vince was probably, and there are accounts of this, that Hillary was basically bellowing at Vince Foster, just solve this problem, get it done. You know,
Oh, I love it when people say that.
Yeah, you start yelling at somebody
Right.
instead of actually
They
trying to
think that
understand.
that's a very good way to solve problems, is just yell at someone else and intimidate them until the problem is fixed.
Does Joe Biden do that?
I don't know, does
Come
he?
on, man, you lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Yeah.
Does he do that?
Anytime
I'll
anybody, I reached a certain point in my life and career where anytime anybody does that to me,
Yeah.
I tell them straight
Punch
up,
him.
I'm trying to help you, and what you're doing isn't helping, so
Right.
go away and stop that,
Yeah.
and maybe the problem will be solved.
So Foster knew that he had to.
Oh, look, there's another big gay ice cream.
Yeah. Is it open?
Well, I don't
May
know,
not
but
be.
I thought that only one was there on,
And there's the sanctuary. It's such a sanctuary that nobody goes in there anymore.
so does Mike Bloomberg own Big Gay Ice Cream, or he just likes it?
I don't know. It's open, the door, so it's evidently open.
I don't want ice cream right now, but I've never even tried Big Gay Ice Cream. It's just interesting that it's there. Anyway, so now Blair is buying the thing for $1,000.
So the issue was not simply the tax return for the Clintons, but the related filings concerning the real status of Whitewater, what had historically happened, and none of that stuff was done properly.
Pretty ancient stuff over here, Charles. Fresh
Yeah.
salt and
It's
fish.
where Joe Biden gets his salt. Where Hunter Biden gets his crack. Let's keep going north.
Sure.
So, there was a big cleanup problem, and as president, when you start filing false tax returns in your first year, that can be quite the liability.
Generally frowned upon.
The other thing that happened, of course, if people remember, is that they did the classic Clinton maneuver, just as they did with the foundation. They There was some talk Hillary was going to be co-president, i.e. president, but not with the title president.
What are you talking about? Who spoke about that?
Oh, all kinds of books. There's a book called Partners in Power. There's all kinds of contemporary news. Yeah, there's a popular idea that this modern relationship, why should the man, alone just do all the work?
The one guy that we elected, why should he actually
Right,
do
no,
it?
2 for the price of 1, that whole idea. I mean, that was sold by the adoring press as a sensible approach. But anyway, in the initial clusterfuck that was the transition in the early months of the Clinton presidency,
Right.
Zoe Baird was announced as the first Attorney General. She had to drop out. Then another one had to drop out. And during this time frame, Hillary was functioning effectively as the Attorney General.
Right.
And so, though she didn't have the title, and she was doing it through Webb Hubbell, who was the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Webb, of course, later had to go to jail.
Oh, whoops.
And so, if we had a real presidential library, we would see all of these records. And when we look in the Presidential Records Act of 1978,
Is the Grim Reaper a good mascot for a sushi restaurant?
let's see, I operate a sushi restaurant. Occasionally people do get serious food poisoning. So I think I'll put that out just to if you're prepared to eat sushi, you're prepared to get sick. So I like sushi, by the way.
I do too.
Wouldn't eat it in a mobile station, but
No, that's a good. So Webb Hubbell went to jail.
Well,
what did he go to jail for?
I forget exactly what it was. But
Got to be lying under oath.
But we go on the subject of presidential records. So just like a foundation, we'll go up to all the way up. Just like a foundation where the real question is not what revenues you want to declare. The question is how much money was actually sent your way.
Right.
And you better put 100% of that into the foundation normally. But if you're a crook and you're taking money from people who are trying to buy influence from you, who are not going to be too careful or critical, if you steal the money, you steal the money. Same idea with the presidency. Prior to the internet, you had to get a typist to type something, and there are only so many copies of it, and normally I know I was always very careful about that.
Controlling copies of stuff?
Well, yeah, we had actual rules in various firms as to how many copies needed to be made. One for yourself, one for a subject file, one for a vault file. Because very frequently, in what work I was doing, you do the work, and there could be a lawsuit arising many years later, and you needed to make sure of your ground. You need to have your records. Another thing you would do is you would destroy drafts, because a draft may say one thing based on information available.
You don't want it getting mixed in with the final document.
Right,
now, I'm a little lost here, Charles.
We're going to go that way,
Peck
basically.
Slip, I've never
This
heard
is
of.
a very, very old street in New York.
Well, what is this Peck Slip School?
Well, Peck Slip used to be a wharf, basically, for ships. A lot of these streets have been built out with landfill, so I don't know the old shape of Peck Slip. But this was the area where ships would dock, and then they'd unload their wares, they'd go into warehouses, they'd be handled, and then they'd be carted around in the very old days to the city and around the country. By horses.
Now we have people on bikes doing that.
Exactly, that's progress for you.
I guess we might as well go this way then.
I was trying to get away from the noise, but that's fine.
Oh, well, you want to go the other way?
Doesn't matter, it's fine. So this, I might tell you what Peck Slip is. Look over here. The legacy of Cornelius Dirksen, a Dutch landowner, first ferry service between Manhattan and Brooklyn in the 1630s.
They want to tell you that this thing is laser cut stainless steel in super tiny type. On this site of Peck Slip, Cornelius Dirksen, a Dutch landowner and innkeeper, operated the first ferry service to run between Manhattan and Brooklyn in 1630. Wow.
Yeah, that's a few years ago.
But this is commissioned by the NYC Department of Education and the NYC School Construction Authority. I guess it's just a public school.
Yeah, here we go. This is New York, 1625.
I guess beavers were have been replaced by rats.
And
wheelchair race that way.
And children sniffers, President of the United States.
Yeah.
So, So on the question of presidential records, a nuance that I only have begun to appreciate now is that the act, which was passed, I believe, in November of 1978, only affected the records of Ronald Reagan, as it turned out, forward. And it came up with a process, it defined for the first time what presidential records were and what personal records were. And there were really two classes, presidential records or personal records. There's no third class of the records I'm going to hide from everybody because they'd embarrass me, or they might be more
unfavorable presidential records,
or they might be useful to me in grifting. There's no such definition in the act. So the sitting president, at the time the records are issued, is the one who gets to decide how to classify them, and there are various exceptions. Normally, all records created during a president's term have to be made fully public within 5 years of the end of the presidency. Then there's, I think, 6 categories. I may have that wrong, but let's say there's 6 categories of holding back records. But all of those expire, including the national security ones pursuant to this act, within 12 years. So, as a practical matter, what that meant is that, I guess, the earliest records of the Reagan period, ones created January 20th, 1993.
Pretty popular.
I think it's just following us around. I think we need to go another one that way, because otherwise we'll...
This is like the crazy, I've never walked over here before, and it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah. So the records of, the earliest records of the Reagan presidency, which began on January 20th, 1981, would have become available January 20th, 1993, i.e. Bill Clinton's first day of office. So he had the ability, while he was president for 8 years, to embarrass the Reagans and the Bushes if he wanted to, and he had leverage.
I don't agree. This sounds like a plan that was put together by Bush to me to do something specific. I didn't know any of this, but that's the whiff I'm getting. I'd love to know more about who is behind. So it's the Presidential Records Act?
Yes. Of 1978. But so the point, Jason, is that the National Archives is supposed to have custody and control of all presidential records, and then they can be transferred to a presidential foundation, and the rub is that they should not be transferred until a presidential foundation is, let's go this way, until it's finished.
Sure.
But instead of doing that, in the case of certainly the Clinton Foundation, records left Washington, D.C. while Bill was still president. I would never allow that as the National Archivist. You have to say, listen, no.
Yeah, you just disappear stuff that way.
Right. And besides, you can write a book if you want to. There's no constitutional entitlement to get a book deal.
Right.
And many of the best biographies of presidents are those that are completed 10, 20 years after the presidency, when passions have cooled. So,
whoa.
You okay?
Yeah.
You have to do a
big step.
You're going to do a Hillary?
No,
September 11th,
didn't realize how high
2016.
off the curb that was.
But so a big question. We know in the case of the Clinton presidency, because in that presidency, email, which had been available under the DARPA net, called something different, was used much more, starting with the Clinton presidency, and the rules and regulations, I don't think, were as specific as they needed to be and now need to be about use of a non-official email address for communications.
I don't even think people were dialed into it enough at that time to...
But the way I read the act, any emails done in the service of Bill Clinton relating to his ceremonial or constitutional duties while he was president, including those of his direct reports, those are presidential records.
Right.
There's another category of vice presidential records, which, you know, would sweep in Gore and his people. But so as an opening, I'm going to say nobody, Socrates himself, if he came back, is not going to convince me that we have all the Clinton presidential records, because we don't. We also
stuck marbles in his mouth. Or that was Maimonides, or who was that?
Socrates is the one who fancied a glass of hemlock, please.
But there was somebody who stuffed marbles in his mouth to be a
I don't know who that was. Probably lived on
an orator.
Was it? Maybe it was Maimonides. I don't know. I don't know my ancient history that well, notwithstanding the hat, which is ancient Greek.
Right.
So anyway, we don't know whether, and we strongly suspect that many important records of the Clinton presidency have been bleach bit or disappeared. But what you find, and this is how I have cracked other cases in the past, not criminal cases, but what is this?
What?
Can't go through there, can we?
Well, we're kind of behind the courthouse now.
Oh, I see. Are we going to get a lot of interference with these?
I don't know. I think we can get around it, though.
Well, that's one police plaza.
We can walk right through here on the sidewalk.
Okay. But I'm just thinking all these vans.
Yeah,
Let's hope they don't.
we'll see what happens.
Is that going to be Hillary's next book? So,
This is one police plaza, all right.
so we don't know whether, we can be certain we don't have all the Clinton presidential records. And we know that George W. Bush administration admitted that 33 million emails.
Did they?
Yeah, disappeared.
Is that the number?
33 million, yep.
Come on now. This is all nonsense.
I know.
33,000 for Hillary, 33 million for
Bush.
Bush.
Right.
33 air traffic controllers for Southwest, according to Ted Cruz. It's just not.
Yeah. And we know as well that in the very important case of the Memorandum of Understanding that was supposed to protect Americans from potential abuses wrought by the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation while Hillary served us as Secretary of State.
You're right. Served herself.
Yeah, bellied up to the bar.
Right.
We know that there are multiple versions of this MOU, including there's one that John Kerry circulated to fellow Democrat lunkheads and other senators in 2009.
In Hillary's case, it's an MOO.
Memo of
Moo. This is the entrance to One Police Plaza, so if you want to be treated rudely, this is a good place to come.
yeah. It's not even good punctuation.
What?
Visitors, shouldn't it be with an apostrophe?
You'd be like, hi, I'm here to visit the police. How you guys doing?
How you doing?
We're also near that, I think they closed it though. That's it, isn't it? The Metropolitan Detention Center, where Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, this actually, I was watching, with nothing to do on the weekend, I was watching some New York City history show.
Oh.
And this building was built, I think, around 1910.
What is it exactly?
It's like the city administration building. I think the equivalent of the executive office building in DC.
Here's an object to art.
It looks to me like an Alexander Calder, but no, Rosenthal.
1971 to 74. How long? I mean, really? 3 years to make this?
That was then, Jason.
You must have hired the union workers to. It's like a highway in New Jersey, Charles. It's years to make that.
So on the presidential records, we don't really have the records we need, and likely there are a lot of records of what was truly going on during the Reagan presidency, Iran-Contra, with H.W. Bush, his presidency, the Clinton presidency. God almighty.
It's
probably
right through Police Plaza, the guy's skateboarding. Isn't
It's
that
probably
great?
Dante, what's the guy's name? De Blasio.
Oh, right. Dante's Inferno.
That's right, that's where we live. So this is where they deliver the money to Mrs. de Blasio using this
Right.
put all the cat. Could you give us another 100 million and put it in? She wants to go to Paris.
I'm just baffled that they're just doing nothing about any of that stuff. It does?
Oh yeah, they don't produce food.
Oh, rice from Arkansas?
And chicken, Tyson chicken.
Oh, really? To Saudi Arabia?
Or around the world.
Well, that's a hell of a flight for the chickens.
And the Saudis.
Doesn't it seem like it would be more cost effective to put a chicken farm in Saudi Arabia?
You haven't been to Saudi Arabia yet.
Correct.
It's
This
fucking
looks like a pretty
hot.
armored Ford.
Yeah, it's a New York police place. Saudi Arabia is beastly hot. You know, it can be like.
I mean, I'm sure it's a lot like UAE, right?
Right, but to feed UAE's population is a fraction of Saudi Arabia, so much
They have
smarter.
great food in UAE.
Well, much smarter probably. A lot of these UAE and Saudi potentates I met with, and the people around them, they're all interested in having a valid excuse to go to Europe or America, whatever, quote, on business, to get out of the country. And
Right.
so you can imagine they might make an investment in such a thing.
In
Well, and don't forget one of the most important things. I keep forgetting to bring it up myself. Who was Bill Clinton's classmate at Georgetown and close
Oh, yeah,
friend? Turkey, Prince Turkey,
Turkey, yeah.
T-U-R-K-I, who is head of the equivalent of the Saudi Arabian CIA.
CIA, yes. He came up in John Cullen's research
Right.
dealing with Las Vegas. Oh, look at the number on that car over there. That Audi had a big 33 in the window. It's going to
That
the
one
drag
does
race.
too. 4336.
Well, this is like the FBI headquarters here in New York.
So what are they not investigating?
Everything in that building is a non-investigation.
Unless it's of somebody who went to the January 6th.
Well, or if you get a little bit spicy at the PTA meeting, they're going to come.
Do you see John Kennedy, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana on Tucker last night?
I did not.
On Waters last night. He was
No.
talking about, Joe Biden, is anything going to come across the line in this legislation? And he just leaned back and in his wry smile, he said, Joe Biden got no political capital left. His poll numbers are going down faster than a fat man on a seesaw.
That guy is great.
It is funny.
He's from Louisiana.
But he's a Marshall Scott, and he's a very smart guy.
No, Louisiana, that type of humor, I love it.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who said, Dr. Fauci, did y'all spike that evidence? And Fauci said, I don't even know what you're talking about, but we didn't do that.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, this is what I wanted to tell you. So, if I'm not interrupting an idea
go
that's
ahead.
unfinished. So,
Let's stay out of there.
Manny Grossman's investigation has now come across this guy, Carlton Gajusek, who is
There's a mouthful.
Well, he's Norwegian, I think, or of Norwegian descent. And he was working at the NIH on AIDS and stuff. And he ultimately was arrested for bringing like 37 children from Micronesia to live at his house, and he raped them.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, went to jail for that.
That's good.
LA Times say he is an unapologetic pedophile, and I'm trying to determine if he had any interaction with Fauci. And so some people have found this article where Fauci was talking about how purely for research, he had to go to gay bars
Really?
to understand the gay community. So,
Just for research.
Yeah.
Right.
I won't say this, it'll embarrass you too much, but it'll make a certain segment of our audience
Let's not
laugh.
go. Yeah.
But Anthony Fauci's doing research.
As Bill Clinton was doing research
Right.
too with Paula Jones. I'd like you to research.
So you haven't heard of this Gajusek guy?
You have to spell it. Maybe I've.
It's G-A-J-D-U-S-E-K. Gajusek.
No, I don't know him.
Well, he's dead.
This is Joe Biden's mentor.
Free toaster if you donate to that homeless person, Charles. He's got it sitting right there.
Yeah, I think from memory there is quite a homeless.
Yeah, there's a homeless center or something over here,
Right.
or a drug rehab center or something, where there's
mess,
a lot of
I
people
think.
hanging outside.
Typically, yeah.
Well, why don't we make a left over here?
Yeah, let's do that. Could you speak up, sir?
That guy's He heard you. He's like, Charles, free toaster if you give me $1.
And another thing.
Just got it out of the dumpster.
Yeah, I had that happen to me the other day. I was walking down the street and the guy said, "Hey, I'll give this to you cheap." I'm like, no.
Like you're out browsing for...
I love bargains. You know, is that fresh from the dumpster?
Yeah, it's like dumpster diving. Here's a new fancy looking apartment building.
Yeah.
It's a weird place for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, if you've got a lot of money of suspicious origin and you want to get it out of Kazakhstan, you might be prepared to buy an apartment here because you don't really care
where it is or what's around.
But as anybody who's made money in real estate will tell you, that all you need to know about real estate is that adage: location, location, location.
Well,
and this is not a location.
Well, somebody might say New York is the location.
And I would say to them, less crack would be a good idea.
This looks like a machine to smash things.
Move into your beautiful penthouse and put all your expensive paintings and...
Well, look, another one's coming.
Right, and listen to that machine, that pile driver, is going to go smash everything on your shelves. Try to go to sleep in the morning, you know.
A lot of traffic over here.
Yeah, I guess we're down.
Dude, it's just totally
out
collecting money to sit there.
Let's see, this is Broadway? Yeah. Walk up Broadway a little.
Well, the garage is totally empty. Huh.
Pretty much everything.
Bespoke sandwiches, Charles. Do you have to measure you before they make that?
Sandwiches have gone up in price too. Have you noticed that?
I don't really order sandwiches. This place seems to have a orientation problem. I've been really limiting my restaurant going.
Well, I like ham and cheese sandwiches, for example, and they used to be lettuce and tomato, mayo.
Too processed though, Charles. That deli ham is good. When have you ever seen a pig in the shape of a sphere?
Anyway, I like it. And those used to be like $6.75. Now it's more like $9.75, $10.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you start, and the cost of a pound of ham or Swiss cheese in an expensive place is going to be like $11, and there's certainly not a pound of meat on a sandwich like that.
Well, if there's less competition, isn't there less motivation for? If you're the only sandwich place around, you can charge $9.
Exactly.
If there's 6 places and you're charging 9 and they're charging 7, someone's going over there.
Right, unless there are a whole bunch of government contractors, in which case you saw that thing, and the Bite Me decides, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to leave all the shit that we've already paid for down on the border. And there are no criminals there swarming that border who's going to steal that stuff. And then we're going to still pay the contractor not to finish the wall. I mean, really, that alone. And Brett Baer was, I think, all into being an anchor at Fox. He's got a nice cushy gig there. Even his eyes were popping out of his head because he probably does pay a large amount of income tax.
Right.
And you're sitting there saying, this is what they're doing with my money?
Well, it's as if you had some dependent who was, just taking the money you give them and using it on drugs and wasting it and throwing it away and buying other people dinner. Right.
You mean Hunter?
And then they're coming to you asking for more money. It's like, hey, forget it.
Yeah. I mean, somebody really should put
premium RV, Charles.
Yeah, somebody should put, a slideshow together with the song, a montage of some of the stupidest video clips and pictures of the Biden family.
Yeah,
I mean,
hours long.
It really would be. Could be like, what was that show? Crank Yankers.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, something like Crank Yankers. Biden Yankers.
They sort of stole the idea from Jerky Boys, but it's not much of an idea. It's just Crank calling people and recording it.
No, similar. I mean, who knows what Biden has said today? I mean, he was supposed to go on at 1:45.
Well, let's ask our comments if he has gone on and said anything.
We're going to pass momentarily Gucci's new flagship store.
Really? Oh, on the sidewalk.
Where, you could be sure, but you trust the people on the street. This is authentic Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Christian Dior, because they'll tell you that.
Right. So let's see comments. Has Biden said anything yet? Everything is going up.
Well, we haven't also talked about Kamala's her
Space video?
oh my God.
It was very stupid.
Well, it really was, and I found
Hang on now. Is that First National Bank still open?
it doesn't look particularly open, but that is probably a branch.
Well, I mean, it looks like it's been bombed by graffiti.
It's because
And
it
then
has
painted
been.
over and then bombed again.
Because it has been.
And then here's another one for rent.
As much luggage as you want here, Jason. What does this say?
Don't want any. Your life is better buzzed.
Fuck milk, got pot. Friendly.
That's an interesting
That's New
wardrobe
York.
collection for a restaurant.
Yeah. The greatest city in the world. Hey, look at this asshole.
Here's the NYU bus.
Fucking
cutting off.
asshole.
Fuck you, man. Going against the light and then waving at me to taunt me. You know what? Route B 2144, scumbag.
Report him. He nearly
Right.
ran
Call
over
and
one
say
of.
he's driving dangerously.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Yeah.
Now what's this?
It's not much. Some kind of strange store.
Yeah, but this
A
is the
junk
type
store.
of store, right, that's been popping up, like
Sacred tattoo.
with a sigil right there. 9 moons piercing. No thanks. So much stuff out of business over here,
And
Charles.
it's going to get worse. This whole block is out of business, basically.
Yeah, you see, like what de Blasio is doing by saying New York is back, denying a problem is the #1 way to make it worse.
Yeah.
So by saying that New York is back, when in actual fact,
Right.
this
So-
is what's happening.
So just finishing on
Yeah.
Kamala. So Kamala's chief of staff was Bill Clinton's chief of staff, Tina Flournoy. And there were more than whispers. There was a mutiny of subordinates saying that Flournoy's a crap manager and Kamala's worse. And when I see that, you know, when you have a very powerful person, second in command in theory, possibly the next president of the United States, who allows the chief of staff to treat people poorly, that is bad management. That is not somebody you give more power. And so the process, you think about the process by which Kamala, as vice president, has run her job, is abysmal. I mean, what you look for when you're trying to evaluate these people, what priorities did she set for herself? How does she go about handling her responsibilities? And in case after case, it has nothing to do with her being a woman or
Has
a
to do with
moron,
being an idiot. Yeah,
or even a moron. It's just you're not.
that's new.
You know, if hypothetically speaking, your boss were in thrall to the Chinese Communist Party, what you'd want to make sure is that you had the worst possible stand-in and the worst possible team surrounding this moron, the President of the United States. And so you pick somebody who's an abysmal manager and who is sending absurd messages to the
In
population.
Chinese.
Well, no, to the Americans. You know, we look with our own eyes. We got this imbecile who's DHS head. We don't have, the border is totally under control. We don't have
Right.
a problem. And Jen Psaki says the same thing. And Biden says, actually, it's a problem, Kamala. You take it. So yeah, okay, I'll take it first. I'm going to go to Palm Springs. Then I'm going to go
Space video.
space video. And as we were saying earlier, experienced actors I know, and you know more of them, do say that it is extremely risky to go on camera with a child
kids.
because you know
Never
they're
work
children.
with kids or animals.
Right,
That's what they say.
and that goes way back. And then, so there were initially, as you properly pointed out, that it probably was on the one hand not a bad thing for her to use child actors because they, in theory, would be professional. But I think the real reason is that her behavior, and it's not easy to be, I'm no expert around kids, but I did have primary responsibility for raising my kids. Particularly,
Does she have any kids?
no, none of her own. And she waited to get married late in life. Now, I'm not belittling the role of a stepmother. I think that's also important. But she's just naturally, she doesn't have, in my mind, natural maternal instincts.
I agree.
And-
which is very strange for a woman.
Well, it happens, and she, I think she would have frightened kids if that
she
had been.
frightens adults, Charles.
I'm just saying, kids are very prone to just saying exactly what they think about anything. The spirit stores are
There's a lot of
temporary.
them.
Well, these are the ones that temporarily come in. Now, J. Crew is actually less good quality than Brooks Brothers used to be. This store here.
This is some fancier version of J. Crew, men's shop.
Right, but even this, you can
logo.
tell. I'm no expert on clothing, but this
Junk.
is junk and expensive junk, probably.
Yeah, I stopped buying J. Crew like high school because it falls apart.
Yeah. So, anyway, for me, that video, watching it, it was just so synthetic, so obviously false, and so uninspiring. If anything, the opposite of inspiring. You could take that guy Michui Kakui or whatever his name is. I slaughtered his name, but he's this Japanese physicist, theoretical physicist. He's always
Oh, with the white hair?
yeah. That guy makes science interesting.
Yeah, he's funny. I like that guy.
He's very down to earth, and he doesn't use a whole bunch of jargon to try to make you
He strikes me as like the college professor you'd go to lunch with and have too much wine.
right, and a nice fun guy.
No, but the moment
Kamala Harris came across as and I'm not saying this just because the other person is a black woman. I happen to like this person's comedy. A dumb version of Wanda Sykes. And Wanda Sykes is
Right,
pretty
she does the
freaking funny.
same thing with her voice.
Yeah, but Wanda Sykes is a comedian,
Right.
right? I don't know what this woman is an idiotic hysterian.
There's a skill, Charles, that like some people, Joe Biden is actually good at this, where he can string together
Three words.
a large number of pretty complicated words that do make sense when connected with one another. But then when you zoom out and try to understand the sentence, it actually means nothing.
It's a word salad.
Yes, if you watch that space video, she's like, I'm excited
What's this?
for a future where our collective knowledge will be advanced by the exciting opportunities afforded by a future where we can all collaborate on a variety of enriching experiences. That's the thing I'm most excited about. It's like, what the hell did you just say?
Exactly. Where's my wallet? Here's this guy who's, I think, drumming on plastic and tin cans or
Yeah.
something. Actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, there's a few guys. I don't know if it's the same guy, but there's a couple people who do this, and it can be good.
I don't think Biden could do this.
No,
I don't think Hunter could do this. He's over there. Oh boy.
Well, there's a little more activity around here, at least.
Yeah. I mean, this Spring Street and Broadway, this used to be pretty upscale. Maybe we should go down Spring and up.
Sure. This is a weird set of deliveries. I couldn't tell if this guy was like FedEx delivering garbage or what has he got there.
Get run over by this
And the
bush.
garbage absolutely needs to be there overnight.
No, Jason?
Oh, sorry. I was captivated by the
garbage?
with the garbage, yeah. He didn't get it all.
There's enough garbage to go around, Jason.
Well, here's tourists on the bus.
Yeah, this is garbage over here, and this is a guy going the wrong way.
Really trying to hurt me.
Cigarettes are fine.
And here's somebody picking up cans and bottles. A garbage wrangler. This store, was this store here?
I don't know what
I
this
don't-
is. Nike. What is this?
I don't know. New Victors.
Yeah, I think it's Nike.
Is it?
Can't
But
tell.
I'd boycott that on principle. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's Nike.
Is it?
Here's the cops just parked.
Well, I think look at the door.
That's a bulletproof door.
Not
Oh, actually, no.
anymore.
That one doesn't have the armor.
Look at the bottom
I
of
see
it.
it.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah. Maybe I should buy the bulletproof armor plates for my car.
Now, I think we're going to go up Mercer Street, and Mercer Street is pretty upscale, or was upscale. Let's see what's left of it. Weekend Nation.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Yeah.
So this is really out of business over there, and over here. This is like premium. The
like-
mayor and developers will destroy Soho and NoHo.
I wouldn't limit it to that.
Right. Well,
Not the
that's-
developers. The mayor will destroy,
But I think
has
that
destroyed the city.
this was a big. I don't know what store it was, but this was a big store here, and I guess they're pissed that they're out of business.
Was is the correct verb there. I actually like these streets. These are not, I incorrectly call them cobblestones. And my father always says they're not cobblestones, they're something else. But
Well, because they're brick.
yeah.
So
That's-
you guys look like staples of Soho. Is this your shop here? What's that?
I just run it.
And how's everything going?
Great.
Is it?
Yeah.
Business is picking up?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we're in a little slowdown right now, but for the last 4 months, it's been good.
All right, good. Take care. Thanks. Be well. I don't think people want to admit.
There's another rag and bone.
Charles, there's so many spaces around here that are closed.
Do you like that garbage? I mean, that sound of the garbage truck? Now you got a
Very
siren.
loud. Very loud.
There's a
I
stretch.
don't often see a Mercedes stretch.
Well, I think Rag and Bone is not doing very well. Or at least the store next door isn't doing very well.
No, I don't think anything down here is doing that well, and I think that I'm not trying to disparage that guy, but if his store was busy, he wouldn't be standing outside.
Well, he said he just runs it, he doesn't own it. So I'm sure he knows that maybe his boss is going to see that video.
Right.
And if he stands up and he says,
Business
actually,
is terrible,
business
right.
sucks,
It doesn't help.
that's not going to square with
Right,
a report
right.
that he gives to his boss about how hard he's been working. Well, here's Scholastic.
The book company?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think there was a
look at
big
that.
scandal with it at one point.
Huh. I used to love that when they would have the yeah, look, Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Right.
They'd give you that little catalog and
Sure.
school.
Oh yeah, I just love that stuff. Did you ever go to the Finelli Cafe?
I don't think so.
Me either. Now Prince Street is also, this is, I believe, prime Soho, right?
Right, we're right in it. Wow, look at this. This is just super.
Nespresso.
Yeah, I mean that's okay. So it's a corporate store. I see. So these are the guys who pay like Danny DeVito and George Clooney to pound limoncello and then advertise their coffee.
You're such a cynic.
Well, it's just a fact.
I thought Danny DeVito and all those stars, they endorse these products because they genuinely love them and they have rigorous standards. Turn down anything that doesn't meet their.
I like Danny DeVito.
He's hilarious.
You know, my aunt was friends with Rhea Perlman in high school. They're from Brooklyn.
Is that right?
Yeah, my aunt's high school yearbook. Rhea Perlman signed it. They were friends.
He was in his prime. Was it Taxi where he was funny? And
Taxi
also,
was
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's pretty damn.
Yeah.
That's really twisted.
Look, even in the jewelry store, the cops have got to be texting the whole time.
Well, I think the way this works is they have. That's actually just it's not a jewelry store, but they
Bags,
have.
whatever it is.
What they have is the stores will pay either off-duty cops or actual on-duty cops to be inside to
Can't
try
tell
to.
which that one is.
Yeah, exactly. Or just duty cops.
It's like, how much is it to have an officer inside the store texting?
I am okay now.
Well, that'll depend on the donut plan. How many
Right.
donuts will we?
We can get you an officer on TikTok for $50 an hour, Instagram for $75 an hour.
Somehow that doesn't seem like a great title for a store.
A bathing ape.
Where'd you get your clothes? A bathing ape. Ah, a man of style.
Yes.
Did you
So what was this latest thing with Hunter? More emails came out or something?
Yeah, there's a whole Daily Mail story suggesting that Big Daddy was a lot more involved in Hunter's nefarious business
Right.
dealings and lied about it. And they also have actually purchased hookers and blow for Hunter. And
Who did?
Joe. Giving them the money for for Hunter.
Wow, what
Yeah.
a good dad.
The smartest guy I
It's
know,
like,
my
now,
son.
don't do too much crack, son.
That's gotten pretty big.
I know, that sort of came out of nowhere, huh?
And I think the gallery for Hunter was down
Oh
there.
yeah, should we walk by that?
You want to?
I mean, you know,
We might as
look in
well.
there
We're
and see
here.
if he's, I think he's gone. It was days ago that they did that. He could be passed out on the floor with crack pipes all over the place.
Could be. It's a virtual certainty.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have friends who've had to struggle with that kind of stuff. It's not easy to get through it as the person involved. And it's tough on the families, but you just would never
Condone it.
finance it and encourage it. And, you know, it's just crystal clear that the people around Joe Biden are just, it's a milk him. It's like those superstar athletes who maybe, you know, get hit by the hockey puck a few too many times, or football,
Yeah.
and suddenly they have an entourage of 55 people,
Right.
and everyone's got a Cadillac, and
Right.
and then, you know,
They
wake
run
up.
out of money and those guys leave.
Well, the guy gets injured, and,
Nobody cares.
and he can't pay any of the debts, and he ends up bankrupt. I mean, that's the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden model.
More closed stuff. Amazing retail.
And you know, we could differ on policy matters, even on important things like whether there should be a guaranteed minimum income, which I think is absurd, or other policy disputes. But I think if the government is going to have as much influence as it does, and key actors and bureaucrats so much influence, they ought to be forced to pass a real test on math and finance and economic literacy. Because, I mean, that Joe Biden and Psaki and others would go out there saying, don't worry about the 3.5 trillion, it's going to cost nothing.
Right, it's free.
You know, that's just stupid. That's not even, that would get you at Harvard Business School, if you tried to make an argument like that, they'd throw you out of the school. It's just ridiculous, indefensible. And that so many people across the towering heights of the Biden intellectual capital pool,
It's very low height.
I don't think there is a measurement low enough that's been designed, angstrom or something.
Look at this, is a nice looking sushi place here, omakase, totally empty.
But it's pretty early.
It's true, but I mean, restaurant, new normal. Empty.
But we're doing well.
Yeah.
We're thriving. So I think they're certainly not going to let us in this place. They already kicked me out once.
No, but we'll just look at it from the outside.
And I really don't understand the PPE loan that they supposedly got after Biden was president. I just, art galleries, I have a friend who owned one. And what they're always trying to do, watch it, so they're trying to find cheap space, and then what you try to do is find, the way you really make money is you find the promising, undiscovered as yet artists, and the people who've actually gotten really wealthy, for example, in the case of Picasso, what they would do is they would say, okay, listen, our commission's going to be 50% of your sale price, and I'll take my payment in your paintings at the cost, right? So there's, I won't say the names, but I'm aware of people whose ancestors did it. And here are a large number of flags. What is this all about?
No, maybe somebody's protesting.
Could be. This is hilarious if it's a protest.
Oh, it's Scott Libido. It
Who's
looks
he?
like.
Who's Scott Libido?
The guy from Staten Island.
That's great. Look at that painting. This is fortuitous. That's hilarious. How much? I'll give you 100,000 for that.
That's exactly what I'm asking for.
Is it really?
That's you better be careful, Charles. That might be a sale right there. Bang, sold.
That's fun.
Man knows his prices.
How are you, Scott?
A generous portion of my sale if I sell it. I also have NFTs. I just started my NFTs of this. I'm giving a portion to a youth drug program.
You mean Hunter's
You
budget,
could
or
send him an 8-ball.
Yeah,
That's the youth drug program.
so? How come this place isn't open?
Because on.
Yeah.
Is that George Berger right there?
Nah, he's not here today.
Yeah. I got thrown out of here with Jason. I went in here a number
Was
of
that
months.
you?
Yeah.
Just you're the guy that they took down?
They didn't. They didn't.
No.
We just went
I
in.
just sent him in with the microphone, and I think they noticed the mic. I was across the street, zoomed in through the window, and I think they saw the microphone. And 5 minutes into a serious conversation, they were like, "Sir, you have to get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
No,
But
we went into one of these, a couple of these galleries with Newsmax, my buddy from Newsmax, and they were like, "We're not talking. We're not talking."
well, the thing is, I used to collect this. I mean, good art, and this Hunter Biden stuff is so abysmally bad. I mean, it's the kind of stuff, and I'm no art expert, but you look at it, and a 7th grade math teacher would say, I mean, art teacher would say, Hunter, take this Metro card. Take this Metro card and go back to wherever you came from, because you're not going to be an artist.
Well, as an artist, the way I see it is, there's some bold forms and the color gives a little pop, but it is, like you said, it's nothing that you would not see
Right.
in a junior high school hallway.
Right.
And what pisses me off, I don't know if you know my history, I left the art world a long time ago because it's a club.
Right.
It's an elitist club, and they pick and choose.
Right.
There's people that are struggling for thousands to decades.
Right.
That are more greater than I would ever be, and they don't get that opportunity. And this cocksucker, scam fucker, gets this 75,000.
Right.
It's
Why
bullshit.
did he bring it down? It was 500 originally.
No. These are just different. There's paintings that are for 500,000, but these 5 he sold 5 for 75,000.
And those are prints, right? That he sold.
And those are fucking prints.
Right.
They're not originals.
Yeah. And so.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But it's just shocking, and you frankly shouldn't be allowed to do this as any kind of politician. The same thing
That's
happens.
the point. If it was the Trump kids, the fucked up cities would be burning.
Well, with the Clintons, for example, and the Clinton Foundation and Teneo, which is a consulting firm, the way they would do it is they would say, listen, what we're going to do, we'll let Coca-Cola, which wants a favor from Hillary Clinton, hire this consulting firm that can't do anything right, and we'll let them charge $5 million a year for a project that should cost $100,000 a year, and there's no regulation of that. Similarly with art, no regulation. This is a much bigger problem,
Money
actually.
laundering scheme.
Yeah, it is.
It just goes to prove between the media, with the Democratic Party, how they are together and how they set the mold.
There's no difference there, right? Media, the Democrat.
I remember, if it was Donald Trump, Trump's kids,
Right.
the cities would be on fire.
Well,
On fire.
very, very well done. I hope you get a lot of following.
What's up, guys?
Great new painting there, Scott.
How are you?
How you
Hey,
been?
Johnny, how are you?
What's up? How you
Good to
doing?
see you.
John Tobacco.
Charles Ortel.
Very well. What's
What,
cooking?
you streaming right now? You're always
We are.
streaming.
We just happened
What?
to be by.
Sucks? Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you,
Very,
man.
have a nice day, Pill.
Thank you. You're kind.
Oh,
That's not
Yay,
happening.
Wow.
what a
Amazing.
mean lady.
What a woman, huh?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is a good place to
Meet
walk around.
new
if you're
friends,
a
right?
Newsmax
Oh, there's
host,
somebody
you know
in there,
what I mean?
actually.
Yeah, these jerk-offs
Yeah.
are in there. They won't let me in. That gallery owner over there kicked me out. I'm trying to get some expert opinions on what they think about Scott's artwork here. But thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Those dudes look
See,
like
they
trouble
like
to
they
me.
like Newsmax. You know what I mean? The guys that look like trouble say nice soup. You know, the little soccer mom going by gives me the finger and says "fuck off." I hate Newsmax. You know?
Unbelievable. Oh, I think she said she didn't like the artwork. She didn't like Newsmax,
No, she said
said?
"fuck Newsmax."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, you're kind of in the center of enemy territory here.
Oh, yeah, that's what we like,
Yeah.
and that's where we go. You gotta go into, you gotta stick your head in the mouth of the lion sometimes.
Now, John, you're running for comptroller, right? Or is that?
I'm on the ballot still.
Oh, when is the election?
November 2nd, I believe, is coming up. But more importantly, I know some people in your audience know a month or so ago I was arrested for not wearing a mask in the Board of Elections. I was taken into custody and incarcerated for not wearing a mask, even though I'm vaccinated.
Oh boy.
And just today I had my criminal.
Here we go. They complained.
What's going on? Yeah.
They
They
complained
complained about what?
about you. About this.
But
This
are you
is
guys
harassment.
doing anything that you're not allowed to do?
You better be careful,
Something
actually.
going on in the art gallery, officers?
Sir, you better be careful about the. I don't think you're allowed to drink alcohol on the street.
I'm not allowed to drink alcohol.
Oh, never thought of that. Yeah, you can. You can
On the
drink.
street? Or really?
If you could throw Molotov cocktails
Right, at the cops.
and not be prosecuted,
It's a good point.
I think we should be safe having a sip of bourbon.
Okay.
You never know. You know what I mean?
So if you get elected controllers of the city, right? Will you promise our audience that one of the first things you're going to do is send a collection agent after de Blasio's wife to get back that
Yes.
800 million
Charlene.
bucks? Yeah.
Where's the
One of-
900 million, Charlene?
If I were elected, if New York City had the balls to vote for a libertarian, someone with 30 years of Wall Street experience, someone who actually knows a little bit about finance, not like Brad Lander, the progressive who's backed by AOC and Elizabeth Warren. This guy wants to turn New York into Russia. He wants to turn it into Moscow. He's left of AOC, okay? Then you got this pretender, Dabby Carreras, running around like a little gremlin everywhere. He hasn't raised a dime. He has no platform. He doesn't even know what he is. So he's doing a disservice to the Republican Party, in my view. I'm the Libertarian candidate. But the first thing I would do as the controller of this city is go after the $1.1 billion that Shirlane McRae stole from the homeless and mentally disabled in this city. I want to know where that money is. And one of the great things about the controller's office that the government doesn't really even want you to know, it's one of the most powerful offices, if not the most powerful office in the city, because the controller controls all the money, all city contracts, and the controller has subpoena power to audit. So we all know, you never want to hear the word audit, right? The first thing I would do is go into the remnants of the Thrive organization, and I would immediately start an audit. I would freeze any funds that are going into the Thrive program. And I would audit the entire thing. I want to know who the contractors are. I want to know who got paid. I want to know where the money went, and we will go claw back that money. There's no doubt about it. Second thing I would do is start a stimulus plan for all the small businesses that have been crushed by the tyranny of our mayor and our former governor, and even our new governor, Governor Kathy Hochul. She's just a tool of the left. And truthfully, the third thing I would do, if elected, is I would make the office of controller a non-electable position. The office of controller is a waiting spot for the guy who wants to run for mayor next. Scott Stringer, John Liu, all the controllers then went on to run for mayor, right? None of these, they're all career politicians with no financial experience. So what I think is you need to have a set of criteria and requirements that show you know a little bit about money. And the last thing, and to me, maybe one of the most important things, but it'll take a little more legwork. In 2008, I was appointed to the Governor David Patterson's task force on the New York State retirement system. Many New York City workers, and there are just under 1 million active and retired in New York City, don't know that the New York State pension plan is on fire right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the governor for many years has been stealing from the pension plan. They put these IOUs into the pension plan. And right now, as we speak today, firemen, cops, sanitation men, many of the municipal workers across the city, the plan right now is on something called pay-go.
Right.
Okay, and that's a cool little political term, pay-go. Sounds good, pay-go, right? But what pay-go really means is Bernie Madoff. Pay-go really means Ponzi. Okay, so when you work for the city for 20 or 30 years and they take a certain amount out of your pension, and they're supposed to put it in a little package over here that says, this is John Tobacco's money 20 years from now.
Right. Oh, I know.
Theoretically, that's my money, right? What the city and the state have done for years is pilfered that money.
Sure.
And now with the rash of early retirements, because the mayor doesn't have anyone's back here in New York City, we have more people retiring than the actuarial table expected to be retiring. So when they go for that money, it's not there. So what does pay-go mean? Pay-go means the new cops and firemen who are paying into the plan, and that money's supposed to be put on the side for them 20 years from now. They're taking that money
Right.
and they're paying it to the people who are going out of the plan right now. So right now, New York City, public employee retirement system, the second biggest public employee system in the country, is underwater and it is currently being run as a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, of course.
We don't have enough money in the bank to pay for all the redemptions of people who are retiring, who are expected, and then people who are retiring early to say, oh shit, we expected 40,000 people to retire this year. We have 55.
Right.
We don't got the money.
And that's
We got this whole stack of chits over here that Andrew Cuomo kept putting in when we were over budget, say we'll get that back to you down the line. But the retirees don't want a chit. They want money.
And that's before you consider that from December 31, 2008 to the present, interest rates have been artificially suppressed, which means that the value of all these securities in the pension fund is artificially high. And the second we have the crack that we're going to have now that inflation is raging and interest rates go up and asset values go down, the problem you talk about gets even worse. The gap gets even worse.
Without question. And, you know, I know Scott Stringer, current controller, career politician, you know, borough president. Guy has absolutely no financial background.
Sounds
He and I
qualified.
lived in the same building at 25 Broadway. I used to run into him over there at the end of the day, have a few cocktails. I used to mildly quiz him about questions I had about the annual report. Guy had no idea at all about what was happening.
Sorry.
Feeling like a movie star with all these cameras, man.
You guys are famous.
Hello?
No,
Is it
no,
AYG?
Hi.
There you go.
I'm gonna, well, I collect
That's
art.
they, they call it when they have to flip the switch.
You what?
Give you a cost, Scott.
Oh, okay.
And if
Thanks.
you have a card, I'm happy to take it.
All
I
right.
don't go too deep in the weeds.
Okay,
but,
thank you. I'm unlikely to buy
when
anything.
when they build
Thank you.
out the investment strategy for people who are coming in, right? They expect, well, we have to invest for this person for the next 20 years.
Right, and it'll keep
Right.
being fulfilled by the next
That's-
ones in line. And now
Well,
they've dipped into the well too much, plus there's no next
right.
ones in line.
There's no fulfilled by the next one.
Right, well, how does this mirror Social Security?
Same.
It's the same, different
You
name,
know what I
same
mean?
game.
There's no money there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, you know, when you say, you know, theoretically, if they take
necessarily.
$400 a month out of your paycheck, that goes to your pension plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, $400 is supposed to go in an account somewhere
Yeah.
that says this is for CAT.
Yeah.
And then
That's funny,
anything we
Scott. I
invest
was,
in this
assaulted down at
$400, he
City
gets
Hall.
the appreciation on.
Right in front of the
Right.
NYPD. Walked right by. I couldn't even
They
get
do
to
that
the
on what's called an actuarial table. They figure out how long will this person work.
God
Some
forbid
people
they
work
go like
20,
this,
some
and
people
somebody's
stay
gonna
longer,
get
work 25, some people 30. So they do a mean.
Do you blame
let's say
him?
it's
I can't
27
blame him.
years. We
I
expect
don't
this
blame
person to
him.
force it, right? When there's an excessive amount of people retiring that weren't on
This
the
guy
table.
wants you to leave, but you're here
Like,
under
well,
the
cops are
promise.
retiring early now. You know, a lot of people, city workers, are getting out of here. They want to leave. They go
Yeah.
to South Carolina, go to Florida. Give me my pension. They take the penalty. They take the money now, but the city don't have the money.
Well, it's sort of like in the Depression, the run on the banks.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it permanent in order?
He's back.
I'm sure it is.
Why don't you talk to the founder of Citizens Against Political Persecution about today's big breaking news?
What was the
that
big break?
federal court judge in Washington D.C. was ordered the warden of the D.C. prison held in contempt.
Oh, absolutely. And that's you
What
expose
about
that? Good for
Tell
you.
about Chris Worrell.
Yeah. Who are you guys with?
Sorry?
Who are you guys with?
You know me, but don't worry. If you don't want to talk to us,
Oh
it's
my
totally
God,
fine.
of course I know you.
That's okay.
I didn't even recognize you. You look totally different right now. Oh my goodness.
Been looking
Are
like
you
this
here-
for
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah. No, you look different on your show.
But
than
we'll
on
tell him not only that, but be sure to tell him about the woman, Rosalind Boylan.
Roseanne.
Yeah, because nobody knows about her.
Well, Chris Worrell has like become a friend of mine. He's one of the prisoners from January 6th.
And how do you spell his name? I mean,
WORRELL.
Chris Worrell. Okay.
And today, the judge found the warden of the jail in D.C. in contempt of court because they've been basically abusing his civil rights.
Of course,
Not
yeah.
releasing his medical papers. He has cancer, stage 3 cancer. He's been held in solitary confinement
It's
since
outrageous.
March. He's not receiving any type of
His
treatment
health has
whatsoever.
already been permanently damaged.
Mentally
outrageous.
and physically. It's terrible, it really is. And so that's what happened today, which I was in shock to find because it's been very, the Department of Justice has not been, it's been the Department of Injustice. And so that was the news today, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Congrats.
He doesn't even know though. He's
Really?
still in solitary confinement.
They're incommunicado.
That's
he
outrageous.
doesn't even know.
Wait a
Tell
minute,
him
that's
about-
the guy who paints those eyeballs all over the place.
That guy?
He's famous.
That fat guy.
What do you
He's the eyeball painter.
Really?
Yeah, he's got an eyeball T-shirt on, and I've
You've
seen
got to
him
hear her talk
on his
about
website.
Roseanne Boylan.
Who is that?
It's a scoop nobody knows about. Please go
So
ahead.
I was on OAN today, and we'll see if they actually bring it out. But there was a second woman who was killed at the Capitol besides Ashley Babbitt. Her name was Roseanne Boylan, and many say she was killed by cops. There's video of a policewoman beating her brutally with a stick with an overhand swing and hits her 5 times as she's already unconscious on the ground after she was basically trampled by not protesters but by cops pushing protesters on top of her and tear gassing, and there's all video to substantiate this. So yeah, nobody's talking about it, nobody knows about it. The police are going in.
She's one of the 5 who was supposedly died of a drug overdose.
Right.
So she's one of the 5, but she was really murdered.
Right.
Wow.
Right. What's going on
And
here?
Para exposed
There-
her.
Okay.
That's another. Yeah, that's.
We're not blocking the streets.
They must be.
Shame on an art dealer who would sell Hunter Biden crap.
I know. Shame.
Right. Why aren't they arresting this art gallery for
Did they call
being
the police on
complicit
us?
with...
Laundering money.
That's right.
Right. I mean, there should be an investigation going on.
Yeah.
I think they called the police on us.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, we got to be careful. We got to be careful. We don't block the
Shouldn't
sidewalk.
the police be investigating this art gallery for money laundering or abetting felonies or something like that, rather than looking at your permit? Why aren't these cops...
Well, this is a sidekick.
I'm Charles Ortel. I don't know if you know
People
who
who
I
didn't
am.
know in real life. I just got one from Infowars, and it was weird because it's
The
kind of
irony is
just
that
weird.
they
It's
said,
like
he said that
you don't
you heard him.
expect him to have
Permit's
like a
fine.
certain way
No,
about
fine,
walk.
but
Like
he
you
said
just
that
see him on TV like
they
this,
were worried
you
about
know.
violence
I've
out
recognized him, but I
Because
wouldn't
we're
have recognized
standing
him if I didn't know I
here
was.
quietly.
If I walked by him in the
Listen,
street, I wouldn't
it's what it is. This
recognize
is
him.
that's everybody has a right.
Because I knew it
Whether I agree or not, everybody has a right.
Yeah,
That's
you can't
why
really tell.
I love
walked
that
past,
flag.
who's the
that I
woman
paint
who was in
every
the
day.
Woody Allen movies? all the
Mia
time?
Farrow?
When I'm-
No, the
Remind
Annie
everybody
Hall.
how they
Thank
can
you.
get
I
to
walked past her once, I
ScottLobato.com.
didn't even- But I heard her, and then I knew it was her. and I was trying to-
ScottLobato.com.
Yeah, I don't know what
A lot
she's
of times they're a lot shorter than you think.
wearing. That too.
I saw what I thought was a miniature version of
Yes,
Sylvester
and I
Stallone
just
walking up Park
started
Avenue,
my
and it's
first
like,
NFTs.
And it was
you know,
him?
all these
Oh,
artists
yeah.
doing
It's short.
NFTs. So I figured let me get involved in that.
I saw
This is the
Jackie
first
O
piece
once
that's
get
available
into
now.
a
What's the
bar right in
title
the
of this?
middle of
It's
Madison
called
Avenue.
Portrait
All
of the Scam Artist.
shopkeepers came out and just goggled, you know,
Right.
just like any hoi polloi.
You too.
But she wasn't short.
yeah, no, she wasn't.
She was quite tall.
She was nice.
Jackie Kennedy.
Nor was
Charles, I think
Princess
we are-
Diana. Princess Diana, I was stood this far away from her once, and her feet were like big.
Are you guys
No
live
kidding.
streaming?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I mean, I didn't know who you were because
that's all right.
That's all right.
it's terrible.
Well, stay safe. Don't get in trouble. Don't get arrested.
Are you
Saturday.
going to be there Saturday?
Yeah, there's a big
I
march.
cannot
rally.
be there this Saturday.
Oh, we're
What's
gonna.
happening
miss the
Saturday?
Times
Well, is the
Dash?
big? I'm one of the organizers. We're having a big rally in Times Square, but also we're having afterwards. Our march is a march on media. We're going to go to the New York Times, and then we're going to Hudson Yards to call out CNN.
Yeah.
Why would you go? You haven't mentioned any media there.
You haven't-
All right, well, listen, have a good time, and thanks for speaking to us.
See ya. Good luck.
Take care.
Well, there we go, Charles. So, first time we got kicked out,
It's hilarious. Good luck, guys.
and then now the cops are
That is just too funny.
letting those criminals know that,
That's too funny.
yeah.
The timing. We didn't even plan any of this.
No, that was good.
This art is better than Hunter Biden's art. Like right here. This, we took just a different angle thing. Used Dunkin' Donuts orange slushy next to an empty
Look at this, Charles.
33.
No, this is, I call this,
F you.
yes, it's food dumpster. Oh, wait, these guys are now jealous that they're not selling Hunter Biden.
Maybe this is their art. I don't know. Used pizza box. It's disgusting. But anyway, as I was saying, before we noticed this, the way this generally works is that the artist, if he's an undiscovered artist, is more than willing to let a good gallery owner put works of his or her art up on the wall in exchange for getting half of the sales price. The gallery taking the other half. And most artists are not very well organized. This guy's an idiot.
He is an idiot.
He's late
The
for
buildings
donuts.
department. He's not even a cop.
Yeah, bellying up to the bar. Anyway,
They take half the money.
so they take half the money, and like a foundation, like a movie, like a concert, a lot of the artists are scatterbrained, and so they forget how many paintings are there, and then they forget. They
As
get
long as
high.
they're getting money, they're
Right.
like, whatever.
And so the unscrupulous art dealers will say, "Oh yeah, you only gave me 6 canvases when they gave me 15 and whatever." And so it is.
I bet you a lot of them are probably on drugs and not too
Right. And what
particularly Hunter Biden.
And I'm aware of somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, this is very legitimate, who has an incredible eye for art. It's a person who's been doing this to her family for centuries. And she really has an ability to look at art and say, that's different, that's groundbreaking, that's special, that's undiscovered. And she sends her people in to the person and see if she can reason with the artist. And said, here's the program, okay? We're going to take you from being unknown to being well-known.
Right.
And that pathway is going to make you quite wealthy if you want to be.
Right.
But in return from me lending my name to this process, while you're undiscovered, I want the undiscovered price on 50 paintings or 20 paintings or whatever
And
the
the
number.
idea is this person hits, and then you've got
Right.
something worth millions of dollars.
Right. And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. What is wrong is when you take garbage, which that gallery should be called the garbage gallery.
Garbage.
You take garbage, Hunter Biden garbage, and you put a $500,000 price tag on a piece of garbage, and you get some of the many crooks who are happy to buy influence with the President of the United States for $500,000. You get them to not only bid $500,000, but maybe have an auction where it's a fake auction, and next thing you know, it's 600, 700, 800, 2 million.
Right.
And you get some
Any amount.
captured critic, AOC's sister, if she's an art major, if she has a sister, will write a breathless review. Oh,
right.
This artist, with a fine legal mind, it's clear that this man has, has slain his demons through the
Right.
process of recovering from addiction and on and what.
Oh no, K-R and R. I thought it was KK and R.
Yeah. And you write the stuff, and it's published in Crappy Art Magazine or whatever the leading art magazine is
The
today.
New York Times, even all these things.
The slimes. And, off you go.
Here, look, AOC tagging up the building, Charles.
And there is a difference when you are around people who really are gifted at this, and I am certainly not gifted at anything to do with art, but when I can appreciate what I consider to be a good piece of art, groundbreaking piece of art, versus just, it's just average.
Right.
People who are very, very successful in business, made a lot of money, very frequently they reach a point where they have, I want my own personal curator. I want to have, like the other great families, I want to have this massive collection. And if you fundamentally don't know what you're doing, you can get taken to the cleaners. And the dealers understand this.
Right.
So you have to tread very carefully in that world. And I knew the first time we went there that Hunter Biden's was, not even crap. It was
Yeah, he's just
worse.
unqualified to.
And I don't think, I thought what is Lobaito's painting was okay, but it wasn't, I wouldn't pay $1,000 for it.
Well, I mean, it's a certain type of artwork, right?
I know, but you see, the problem with all creative activity is there are many more people out there trying to be recognized and acknowledged than there are
What is
buyers.
that? This is better than the Yale Center for Architecture, Charles. Look, it's
No, it's this after-school check-in. It's for kids.
Center for Architecture.
I know, but I think it's also a kids thing. No, let's not photograph the kids.
Sorry, I was just looking at the architecture in the window.
Yeah. It's one
a
of many
treehouse.
one of these many after-school programs. And
How is it a center for architecture? This is all new stuff here.
this could be the Center for Architecture. But that's just in a satellite kind of school.
You're right, Frank Lloyd Wright in
Yeah.
Cairo.
Cairo is cool. I like Cairo. So there's not a nail spa, it's a nails spa. So that's when you take your brads, you take your other type of nails there and you polish them up.
Get your wood nails. It's been quite this is a long show for us today, Charles.
Well, let's just finish in the park.
2.5 hours here.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's just
Here's
quickly.
cookie dough confections. Oh yeah, you know what? This place used to have a huge line outside all the time.
This place doesn't.
Copy center out of business.
This is always an effective way to stop people from going in. Put the thing half down.
Bakery.
You know, that bakery has been around for a while, I think. Used to be.
I mean, this is all, NYU stuff. Grand opening of this place now. Oh, they bong store and a convenience store. That's convenient.
That's going to work.
Yeah.
You got a winning concept.
Yeah.
This is the famous Skirball Center.
This thing. I don't know if it's still called that though, because they crushed it at one point and made a new one.
No, it's the new Skirball Center.
Oh, is it the new one? So here's another Lab Q.
Everywhere.
They're giving Weed World a run for their money.
Yeah.
You could combine those businesses and really make a killing.
Go Weed 21.
So anything else we want to cover today, Charles?
Well, let's just check the mood of the natives. This morning, when I went in at around 8 o'clock this morning, there was a gentleman taking a bath in the fountain.
Oh, well, that's good.
You know.
Did he look like Schmeagol from The Lord of the Rings?
No. Here we go. Jack H. Skirball.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's a way nicer.
The only time I went here, I was invited by this guy, assembled a bunch of people I actually already knew, and it was one of these Bloomberg interactive. There's something going on. Interactive thing. And they said, this is the way it's going to work. You're going to have to vote. You push this button for that reason, and this button for make sure you do this and that. The other thing
didn't work.
None of it worked.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, at the end of it, raise your hand.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay. Good thing you paid for all that fancy shit.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Because
do a hand raising.
Because the raise your hand technique has never been employed before. Now, this morning there was, I think, a setup for a movie. Maybe they're back, maybe not, but I think I see lights. I don't know if that's.
Oh yeah, I do see that. Could be the cops though.
No, cops?
Well, they got to be able to see the phone while they're texting.
Yeah, this is always a nice look. The cans right there, the food.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
They just don't care.
Why don't you boot over there in the mud?
Pretty crowded here.
La Dolce Vita. Jason, that's what we're looking at here. La Dolce Vita.
Right.
Also known as the fall of the American Empire. We haven't congratulated the art department as much as we should have the last several times. But I think this poster has been one of the best ones. I love the way in which each of the people at Biden's knees are grasping onto his hairy legs. Pretty funny.
He's pretty ripped in this picture.
That wouldn't actually be him. Now those look like some suits.
Suits?
Like those look, for some reason, let's get a little closer and see what's going on. I wonder if they're politicians or.
Whoops.
And there's a couple of cops. Generally, see these guys here, these three people?
Right, yes. What are those guys doing?
I don't know. No, this is nothing dangerous going to happen here.
His material is
It just looked like maybe an Instagram thing.
Probably a candidate for school board or something. Anyway, Jason, I think this might be a good place to end it.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the school board, Charles. It's a good way to get the FBI over to your house.
That's right.
Well, that was quite a journey today, I have to say. We've been all over the city and saw a lot of interesting stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Got a new episode of High Dive with Lee Stranahan coming up tonight at 8:30, so make sure you get on to Subscribestar and Patreon to catch that. I know these cops are waiting.